headset, honestly. So
Okay,
uncomfortable.
so we are live. How are you feeling?
Good.
You excited?
Surprisingly not sleepy. Yeah, I am. I'm a bit too hot. This room is freezing, so if I'm like taking my things on and off, just bear with me because I've got like 5 layers on, but now I'm too hot, and then I'll
That's
probably get too cold. But yeah,
if
fine.
you start taking off too many layers, I will have to block your audio. Not your audio. No.
There's a limit.
Oh wait. No, not
Cut
your
my
audio. Your
video.
video.
Cut my
Yeah, yeah,
video.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cut. All right. Cool. So, Codename Mel.
You know
What's
it.
that about?
You tell me. I
So,
think,
yeah,
yeah, I think you text me thinking I was another client under the name Mel. But I appreciated the text anyway because it's a very nice text. I think, yeah, I think I remember that.
yeah. My understanding of it was that uh, what happened was for some reason, like I've only got limited bandwidth in my brain, and um,
Uh,
that's eaten up. And I just perceived you in my mind as being Mel, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because you kind of refer to yourself as Nat sometimes,
yes.
and Nat starts with an N, and an N is close to an M, and it's only 3 letters.
Yeah.
I'm grasping, but I
I mean,
think
I can relate because I'm quite dyslexic. So
yeah,
yeah.
my wife kind of says, "Yeah, you're definitely on the spectrum." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You know, there's no spectrum." But yeah, so I just started calling you Mel, and you're like, you're sending this amazing message. I don't think it's meant for me. Um,
Was it actually meant for me? Are you just lying? Because you could be lying. Because it was such a
no,
nice
hell no,
message. I
it's
was like,
totally
oh,
Mel for you.
he
It's
has
totally meant
such a
for you.
nice client called Mel.
Yeah,
No, he has a client, and she has like the most amazing therapist because he
I
sent her such a nice message.
well, no, I I haven't got a client called Mel. I quite like a client called Mel because I quite like the name Mel.
Oh,
Clearly,
you got
it's
you got a
something that's
pseudo
easy to
fake
recall.
client called Mel right here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so you're like basically codename Mel. Yeah,
Mel
so for
vegan.
anyone listening, what I do randomly, if I'm uh, just feel the need to do so, sometimes I'll send out like text to specific people telling them that I think they're great, basically. But I
Very
won't go into
wholesome.
any more detail than that. But so yeah, so thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you because um, I think I've been following you on Instagram for quite some time. Stalking you, doing the creepy
Likewise.
old man kind of thing. There's millions of us out there, and but obviously we've got links. And today I definitely want to talk about some of the things that we've kind of like chatted about previously. Um, but so primarily though, I know you from the fight community, from the martial arts. So even though I'm not a practicing Muay Thai practitioner, that's really where I got my roots and stuff. So do you want to tell us a little bit about like how you got into fighting? Because you strike me as, you're not, you break stereotypes, and I think there's more and more people like you that are breaking stereotypes, that are like, they don't have to be sort of like massive butch cropped headed, like women that are doing fighting. There's much like that's dead. And now it's like, well, you can do whatever you want and you can be however you want. Do you want to just talk to me a little bit about your entry into the whole?
hmm Yeah, it's kind of funny because I came from probably the most opposite sporting background you could imagine to Muay Thai, which is I was a gymnast up until, well, I always loved gymnastics. I think like I made myself a fake gymnast before I actually started competing. I like pretend that I could do things like in school. I just taught myself things and looked like an idiot. I remember I couldn't cartwheel. I remember this distinctly, and it was like primary school, and people were laughing at me because I couldn't cartwheel, and like in my head something switched. I was like, I'll fucking show you. I'm gonna cartwheel. So then I started basically teaching myself gymnastics through school. Then finally my parents were like, okay, you can go to a gym. And I was like, yes. So I started like recreational gymnastics probably when I was 11. Then I think when I was 13, they asked me to squad. And the gym I was at, Tolworth, it's a very good gym, but mainly for artistic at the time. I don't think I wasn't good enough for artistic, I don't think. So I get invited to acro, which is acrobatic gymnastics. So it's like throwing people around in the most beautiful way ever. That's the summary. And it's also, so you do like a floor routine and you do a lot of chucking small people in the air, but in between that, you do like really nice dancing and tumbling, which is the classic gymnastics that people do on the floor. So from 13 to probably, I think, 17, I competed in tumbling and also acrobatics, so floor routines with partners, and also just straight line tumbling on my own, just because it was something we did to help us with our routines. And then I had to give that up to go to uni because it's really hard to find acrobatic gymnastics at university specifically, and also Tolworth was so far from where I went to uni in London, even though they're both technically London, but London's huge, so I had to like come to terms with the fact that I have to give up gymnastics, and I was obsessed with it. So I did cheerleading instead at uni, which is, so gymnastics is super female, obviously. There's a lot of very good male gymnasts, but in general, you walk into a gym and there's like 10% men. Cheerleading's about the same. It's like a messy version of acro, very dangerous, very messy version, where a lot of unskilled young adults are being taught to throw people in the air. There are a lot of injuries, a lot of serious injuries, especially when the coaches just think they're more qualified than they are, and only the gymnasts among the cheerleaders can really see that. Stop me if I'm not making sense, by the way.
No, you totally are.
Cool. Because we know how gymnastics is taught and how to learn these moves where you throw people around. It takes time and equipment. And then you go to cheerleading and they're like, yeah, just do this thing and chuck them. And you're like, they're going to die? Like, UK? People were trying to, I have this memory of our coach, our cheerleading coach, trying to teach a grown man who was like the most, bless him, uncoordinated human I think I've ever met, to do a round off back somersault. So that's like a tumbling move that I took years to learn. And it was just like, is he going to fall on his head? Is this the end? But having said that, it was like, it did a lot for me because I gained a lot of friends through that sport. I was with my boyfriend from cheerleading for 3.5 years. Like, it kind of shaped who I was. The first half of my uni was cheer. I was obsessed with it. I did like 20 hours a week of training. In the other side of London half the time. So it was the gymnast obsession in me was still there, and I was just carrying it through. Then I injured my back, probably because I'd been lifting heavy weights, and through the gymnastics I'd not really grown strong because we had one coach that was, I'd say, potentially a bit senile and shouldn't have been coaching. And we only got a good coach, I'd say maybe 1 year before the end, and she was amazing. Just in case she's watching this, she was like one of my role models. But I think by that point I wasn't able to get strong because I'd grown so flexible, and it was kind of too late, but I didn't know this at the time. So lifting weights and cheerleading, which is a lot of impact and like catching people, eventually just, it's like a slip disc I got. I was squatting probably more than my body weight at the time, and I just felt something go, and I was like, oh, that's a dodgy feeling. So I stopped lifting and forgot about it, went on some placements for uni, came back, went to some cheer trials, which is for like a better team to compete in. I did one move and I felt like this, like, I can't describe it, like a ping in my back, and then I was in agony, and I just continued because that's just what I do. I was like, I've got to get in the team, so I've got to do the trials. So I was literally, the outside of my disc had ripped and the inside of the disc had come out, and I was there like doing gymnastics on that. And then I couldn't walk for like 4 days, couldn't get out of bed, so I went to a physio, fucked me about for a long time, because I was on insurance, but he was doing like ultrasound and acupuncture on me, and really I needed an MRI, but he told me not to get one because for spines you should get an MRI if you think it's possible that it could be disc related. Now I know that, but yeah, it took me a long time to get diagnosed with what I actually had, which wasn't muscular. So I had to kind of start from scratch. I couldn't even stand on a wobble board. You know those wobble boards?
Yeah.
When I went to finally got referred through a spinal surgeon who said I didn't need surgery after my MRIs, I got referred to a specific spinal physio, and he was like, I've never seen anyone with your level of core weakness before. He was like, you can't even stand up. I was like, because I'd been doing uni from bed because I couldn't sit in the lecture theatre, so I was in too much pain. Standing was like, after about half an hour, standing became agony. Like, you can see it still hurts like right now, every day, but it's fine. So essentially I had to start from scratch, build up a bare minimum of core strength after the amount of time I hadn't used anything. I was super miserable because I couldn't do cheerleading. I did kind of go back to cheerleading, but it kind of, the boat had sailed, if that makes sense, because UCL had realized I was doing cheer with them because my uni had nothing. They'd realized that actually we don't really want people from outside our university joining our sports clubs. So
Right.
they
Yeah.
changed their
That's
rules, and I was like, you know what, fuck you guys. Quit cheerleading, moved campuses for my university degree.
mm,
And I was like, what do I do now? I have no idea what to do with myself. I'm not a gymnast anymore, basically. So I was just going to the gym because I'd learned to lift, and I accidentally interrupted a boxercise class at this gym. Bear in mind, my ex did boxing. I thought it was the most ridiculous thing ever. I was like,
mm,
why would you want to get hit? Can you just not do that, please? I don't need to get
mm,
injured, blah, blah, blah. Walked into a boxercise class. I was like, oh, sorry. And he was like, oh, no, join us. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, this is quite satisfying, hitting things. So I kept coming back week after week. And then eventually I just asked the coach, where can I do more boxing? Because it's not really enough once a week. And he was like, you should do Muay Thai. I was like, what's that? He goes, don't worry, I'll show you. I'll pick you up from the station and we can go to my gym. And I was like, okay.
that
Didn't
sounds a
really
bit
know.
sketchy.
Yeah, I barely knew this guy. But I was like, cool, whatever. I remember standing at Potter's Bar Station being like, what am I doing? I think I just had wraps at that point.
Mm,
And he picked me up in his car. I was like, oh, good. He didn't stand me up then. Drove me down to Diablo. And I was terrified. I walked in there and I was like, oh my God, scary men everywhere. Very big, scary men. But he introduced me to the coach and it was fine. I can't really remember much after that other than a few weeks in, I would look at the ring and see the fighter sparring and just like be transfixed and be like, I need to do that. And I just got really hooked, probably more hooked than I ever was to gymnastics. I got the Muay Thai bug. And yeah, now we're here. Fast forward a few years.
So yeah, so when was that then? So how long have you been training Muay Thai then?
I think that was 4 years in October. So four
Okay.
and a bit
Yeah, cool.
years ago.
So something that you said, which is really interesting for me, which was when you were a kid, you either weren't allowed to do gymnastics by your family, and then you just kept doing it, and you said that there was this like a fuck you kind of moment, where not a moment, but that was your response. So it's like a polarity response. Yeah. What was that like to kind of have that? And because I think that those kind of little moments are, that you have as a kid, are really defining for me. There was like a local judo class. Well, there's a couple of things, but there was a local judo class, and we went, and it was like 20p or 50p per lesson or something like that.
Imagine.
And we were fairly not poor, but it wasn't a lot of money. And so I did the first couple of lessons free, and then the sensei said, a big fat dude with a handlebar moustache says, like, you got to get yourself like a judo suit. And so I've trotted back and said to my mum, and said, I've got to get a judo suit. And my mum's like, no way. And that was it. That was the end of it. And so it was from that, I was just like, I think because I was denied martial arts from that age, I thought, God, it's like nothing makes you want something like knowing that you can't have it.
100%.
I think that was it. That was one of the things for me. But anyway, yeah. So what was that like when you had that? Can you remember having that thought, when that kind of response? What was that like?
I might have misled you there. I don't think my parents actually didn't stop me from doing it. Essentially, it was my fault, my very young self fault. When I was 3, I started gymnastics in a baby rec class. Like, here's a block, climb over it, do a forward roll, that sort of thing. I enjoyed it. I was terrified of the high bar. And it was nothing to be scared. Like, honestly, they had 2 people supporting each kid to do a very simple move around a bar with padded foam underneath. But for some reason, I remember the terror. And I used to like cry. I think I cried in the car because my parents worked. So we had a nanny, what we called her. So she was kind of essentially as much my mum as my mum is, because she was there throughout my whole childhood, like 5 days a week, and was very down to earth, and like took us to school and all that till I was 11. So I remember crying in the car to her, being like, I don't like it, I hate the high bar. And she basically couldn't stand to see me sad. So she told my parents, I'm not taking her to gymnastics anymore, I'm not doing it. Wow. I think that's what happened. So I therefore stopped gymnastics. And then maybe when I wanted to restart it about age 10, 11, then my parents were like, well, the first time we didn't like it. So maybe if I don't think they even, yeah, I think they weren't resistant, but if they were, I can understand why they would be. But I had this in me, like my whole gymnastics career, I was angry at myself for
Okay.
if you can't be, I was 3, but like for letting my fear
Conquer you
stop
kind of
me
thing.
from getting through something. I would have been a so much better gymnast, and there's so many things I couldn't do because I started too late. And I looked at all the gymnasts that were like pro and stuff, and I was like, that could have been me if I just continued and not being scared of a high bar that wasn't even important. If I'd started acro early, I could have competed for national team, or shoulda, coulda, woulda sort of thing.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where the tenacity came from when I wanted to do it in school.
So
Subconsciously, I was
yeah,
like, that's not going to happen
that's weird
again.
because so you were sort of angry at yourself for having for being afraid when you were a little kid, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but
no.
so how did that fear like how did that fear shape you for the positive or the negative? If you step back and look at, you know, how you progressed over the period of years, you know, did that anger at yourself fuel you, or did it hamper you? It sort of sounds like it sort of did maybe a bit of both.
I'd say, well, the anger itself didn't hamper me. The fact of not continuing from when I was young hampered the amount that I could progress, because there's certain things that you have to build up from a young age, like core strength related to leg weights. If you have to build up the ability to press the handstand from young, and people can learn it as adults, but it's like infinitely harder. So I could never do body weight things like the other gymnasts could. But in terms of like my attitude, it would have been subconscious. Like I didn't think, because I didn't start gymnastics earlier, I'm going to
Yeah, of course.
get as best as I can, but probably because I knew I had like catch up to do. I remember not wanting to go on holiday with my family because I didn't want to miss gymnastics.
Oh wow, that's
I don't know
amazing.
if that's normal for children, but my dad was like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
Like 2 whole weeks that I can't go. Like I've always been like this addict personality for sports.
Okay. Yeah.
Weird.
So so you've been doing Muay Thai about 4 years. Like what? So I mean, it's a hard sport. I mean, I did it, you know, maybe, well, I mean, I think I started when I was sort of 21, which is some
Same as
time
me.
ago. So I've been doing martial arts since I was about 14. And, you know, karate and stuff like that. And, you know, I did sport karate and I was doing competitions and stuff like that. And then I saw 101 knockdowns, this video, and I was like, oh my God, saw Thai boxing. That was it. It's a really hard sport, especially, you know, for anyone really. But I suppose, you know, it's not like, traditionally it's not thought of as being a feminine endeavor, is it? You know, it's quite and I suppose maybe because you're younger than me, you know, you've grown up and where there wasn't so much stigma. I don't know, or was there still? Because you said that there was. I mean, were you the only girl in the gym, or were there other girls in the gym? Or
At the time, I've been the only girl in the gym many times in my life, and I've been to many gyms, which I can always explain if you want. But no, at the time, I think there was a few. There was probably Shan was probably there. I think she was still at Diablo when I joined. I can't actually remember whether she was in Thailand yet. I think there was at least 3 other than me at that point, maybe 4.
so how
And
do you
that
put
some of them.
yourself in that? You know, how do you put yourself in the Shark Tank, knowing that, you know, you know, to stereotype, many of the men will be physically more stronger, maybe more experienced, and you know, like what's your mindset going into that?
I don't think I even
That's
thought of it
quite.
as a
Oh
thing,
really? Okay.
really. I think I was just so bored of women, honestly.
Right.
Like my degree was 85%, if not more, female.
Okay.
My
What
sport
was the degree?
was veterinary medicine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, qualified as a vet like a year or so ago, 2019. So maybe I was just very bored of women, and it was just a refreshing environment. And also what I loved from the start about Diablo, and the coaches always make it clear, is they don't care what gender you are. They're just like, you all the same, to us. And he said it before, like I've had it at other gyms as well, which I really appreciated as well. I think at Sing Day when we did hard spar, when Damon can see that it's, you come to the session for a hard spar, so you know what you're coming for, which is always a very good thing, because it's when you don't know what the approach is that it's stressful. We can come back to that, but I remember in hard spar sessions on, it used to be Fridays, I'd be the only girl there, and Damon would be watching, and he could see that they were going easy on me, and he'd literally stop them and be like, stop going easy on her, she's here to hard spar, like just because she's a girl, I don't care. And I'd be like, thanks. I don't want to be treated different.
To beat me up.
Yeah, no, well, it's a specific area of life, isn't it, Muay Thai? But
what do your friends think of that? Because
which friends?
Your friends, well, your non-martial arts friends, like what did they think of you doing that? Did they think that was like a bit left field, or were they like, yeah, no, that's cool?
Yeah, I don't think they saw it coming, let's be honest, especially not my cheer friends and stuff. They generally just think it's badass if they go to the extent of trying to understand what it is. I think I just generally get like respect from my female friends for it.
That's cool.
I'm trying to think if I have. Also my male friends, I don't think I have any male friends that are like, why? My dad's like that, but I don't think any of my friends have ever looked down on it or thought I was barbaric.
You might look down on it in the privacy of your own home, but you wouldn't say to somebody, you shouldn't be doing that, because you know that
you might.
Potential for physical response.
If you're my relative, you might.
Okay. Well, let's swerve that. Let's swerve that. That poison chalice. So you've had some fights. You fought for Diablo, is that right? Or
yeah, I've only ever fought for Diablo. I've just trained in a lot of places because of my degree. I had to move around for my placements because you have to. Problem with vet is, which I discovered quite early on, but was kind of unaware of before I joined naively, is that there's like 3 different careers broadly that you can be as a vet, many more, but like the main ones are small animal, farm animal, and horses. You have to learn all 3. And you can be a mixed vet, which means you do everything. And I have a friend that's a mixed vet, 2 friends actually, and I'm like, you're amazing. How do you fit all that in your brain? But I can do it, partly because I fucking hate farms, really do. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, sorry, it just comes out of my mouth. I really hate farms, and I really don't like horsey environments at all. So I spend a significant why? I think for farms, I just don't belong there. I feel like I instantly need to get off them when I get onto them. I don't like. I feel like it's hypocritical, because I'm not actually vegan currently. I try to minimize the meat I do eat. I think I find dairy farming the most upsetting for some reason. I think it's because like they are just machines for milk, and it makes me really sad, especially having spent a lot of time on farms, and now I just can't even drink milk. I have a milk, if there's milk in my coffee, I'm like, there's cow in there. Something about having the milk in your mouth, like I don't know, but it might be because I was exposed to so much farms.
It's rape juice.
I wouldn't disagree with you.
Well,
because they impregnate them, they take their babies, and then they do it again, and that's their life. Their life is to produce the baby that they don't get to keep, and then they get milked every day when they don't even have a baby. And it's like, whoa.
Have you ever seen a downer?
Yes, of course.
That's like, with the downer cows.
There's so many reasons why they're down. We had like whole exam questions on why cows could be down. Which I probably failed. I failed my finals for farm because I hated farm so much. They said, so I remember in a feedback for one of the placements I was on, which was a farm vet placement in, I want to say Devon or something. The feedback she gave me was, you clearly don't have very much knowledge. You need to do some more farm EMS, and EMS is extramural studies. So it's the ones you organize, and you can do them in any species you want. She said, if you don't do more farm EMS, you won't pass your finals.
Oh, wow.
Guess what I didn't do?
That.
More farm EMS.
Really?
So guess what? I failed my finals. Like, she was so right. She was an old wise owl, and she told me that I would fail, and I did. But I was too stubborn because it genuinely made me so miserable to be on farms. That I just couldn't do it to myself.
Where's the money? Where's the money out of those 3 categories?
Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Vets don't make much money. So it's a misconception. huge misconception. Unless you're a partner in like Medivet, yeah,
Oh,
but
right.
vets in general,
Yeah.
they don't make much money. Like the starting salary for a 6-year degree, 5-6 years, 30K max.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, imagine if you did accounting or
Yeah.
something financial for
Mm,
6 years, you'd
mm.
start on 50 plus, and you'd work
Yeah.
probably fewer hours than we do.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy. That's crazy.
yeah, people think it's highly upsetting that people think we're money grabbing.
Right.
Maybe
I don't really,
maybe
yeah.
high level in corporates money grabbing.
Mm,
Your average vet is probably doesn't even have the authority to be money grabbing, and they genuinely just care about your pets, and it's
yeah.
just really really sad when I get it from people at the gym, because there's a
Mm,
lot of breeders at Diablo, and they're like, oh, I spent so much money at the vet the other day. I'm
mm.
like, you're selling your dogs for 3 grand. You're
Yeah, yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Like you can, and if you went to the NHS and paid for your healthcare, it would be a lot more expensive than
Yeah,
what you just paid for.
yeah,
Literally, I can find figures to prove that to you,
yeah.
but they're not
It's so weird.
willing
Yeah,
to.
I don't know. Maybe I think slightly differently about it, but I I don't really think of vets as being money grabbing. Really, I think to put yourself through like a degree and kind of to dedicate your life towards helping, saving, or healing animals. I'm like, well, that's the most amazing thing ever. I think that's an incredible thing. The same way it would be for a doctor and stuff like that. But I got to be honest, I think I prefer animals to human beings largely, and
Sometimes I feel the same.
that's probably a really that's probably a genuinely pretty bad thing. But yeah,
No, is
that's
it?
kind of how I
We
am, I
don't
think.
deserve animals.
Well, yeah, I mean,
They're so pure. We don't deserve them. I think it's normal. We
yeah.
prefer
So,
them. They're much better beings.
yeah, and I know that when I had my last dog put down, they were really good. There was a veterinary. They were really really nice, and God Almighty. I mean, I was an absolute mess. So so yeah. So I've only but the highest respect for. So what made you go into to pursue that then? The
Veterinary.
veterinary.
Ooh, it was actually not very noble at all. It was just like I was in a biology lesson in about year 10, and they
Yeah.
put on the board, these are the things you can do if you take biology for A level. I was
Oh,
like,
right.
let's have a read. Oh, vet, that sounds cool. And then
Mm,
I'd had a cat once. All I ever wanted was a cat. It took years to persuade my mum to get one. Finally got one. My mum's not the sort of person that should have animals. She's too germophobic.
okay.
In hindsight, I would have known that it was better for the cat not to be in our household when
Right.
mum wanted to wash him, but she never did, by the way.
Right.
But it just didn't work. But essentially, the cat was a really clumsy cat. We had to build him stairs to jump the fence because he was so long. Ironically, he couldn't jump. Like he'd just sit there like meow, meow. We were like, what's wrong with you? We had to build him steps so he could climb. My dad was really good for him. Like it took all this effort to make his life easier. And then he broke his leg. We never found out how he did it. We had to keep him in a cage. He was miserable as hell. So just kind of, you got to laugh because the most reluctant mother ever finally gives in and gets her daughter a cat, and she gets the most difficult cat you could possibly get. Loveliest cat, but like absolutely
What
an
was the cat called?
anomalous giant. O'Malley.
O'Malley.
I think he might have. I think he might have had acromegaly. In
I don't know what
hindsight,
that is.
that is when they have excess growth hormone.
Oh,
In
okay.
their, I think it's from the pituitary gland, so it
Yeah.
often coincides with diabetes.
Right. Right.
He
Right.
didn't have diabetes because he was young, but
Yeah.
it could be that he was acromegalic because he was huge, man. He was like a domestic short hair, but like really big.
So have you
So he, yeah.
go on? No, please carry on.
No, it just continues. It gets worse. He broke his other leg after. As soon as he went back out again, he broke his other leg. Like not even the same leg, but the other leg. And then he disappeared because he was like, "Fuck this! I'm not staying in this
Yeah.
cage." I think
Right.
twice he stayed in the cage, and then he ran off or got hit by a car. Like no one knows. And I was heartbroken
Mm.
because I was only about 11.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know why after that straight away I wasn't like, you know what, I want to be a vet so I can help cats that I couldn't help my own.
Yeah.
But so maybe it just took a while, and then when I got to GCSE age, I was like, yeah, that's totally it. And then
Mm.
I just never looked back. I just knew in that moment when he put it on the board, I was like, oh my god, that's what I'm gonna do. So most kids are like, from when I was 3 years old, I wanted to be a vet because I had a toy cat and I used to bandage its legs. Like
Yeah.
not me at all.
No,
I wanted to be an artist.
I mean, I sort of a lot of people got these stereotypes in their mind of
Mm.
oh, you're a dog person or a cat person. I think that's partially because human beings are just simple creatures, and I do definitely include myself in that. And it's
Like
like
to
it's just
categorize.
easy to to categorize, like you
Yeah.
say. And and I obviously, because I'm sort of predisposed to thinking of you as a dog person, because I've
Oh,
nearly
why?
always seen you with dogs, hunting dogs. You know,
Yeah, it's true. It's
let's
true.
let's have it right. Absolutely obsessing about certain dogs, which I
Yeah.
love, which is I think
Yeah.
one of the things that I absolutely think is great about you. Um, a long boy or whatever his name is.
Oh, long boy. I have
Yeah.
about no joke. I have stories,
Okay.
three story highlights of Alfie, and the reason I have three is because they're all full. Because
Yeah.
I'm so obsessed with him. He's not my dog. I get this a lot. Alfie
Yeah.
is not my dog. I just
No.
lived
No.
with him for about a year.
Okay.
He's amazing. I haven't seen him in about 6 months, and I like cry inside every day.
Yeah.
But every dog I meet and I fall in love with, I cry a little bit inside when I can't see them every day. But if
For
you
sure.
stalk, you clearly aren't a good enough stalker, because if you stalked me far back enough, I had a cat at uni that
Oh,
was
wow.
like, she felt like my only friend at the time. It was a very low point in my life, and this
Oh.
cat was beautiful, and I
Oh.
saved her from the RSPCA because she was supposed to be put down, because she was old and had a heart murmur because they were too full. She wasn't sick, so I was like, I cannot. She looked at me from the basket, and like I just started stroking, like, who are you? She was like, oh, hi. And they were like, oh yeah, she's on the PTS list, the put to sleep list. So I was like,
Oh no.
no. I was like, I fell in love with her, and I couldn't. Such a classic vet student, like, I must take this animal home. So I
Mm.
did eventually, months
Yeah.
later. But yeah, I'm just as much a cat person as a dog person. Are
Oh,
you
amazing.
either? Because I feel like you're a dog person, but maybe you would surprise me also. I like
No,
cats. I don't know.
I like cats. I mean, I like cats,
Mm.
but yeah, I'm a dog, definitely a dog person. I
Oh,
wouldn't go,
yeah.
oh, I'm going to buy a cat, or I would want
Okay.
a cat.
Mm.
They just, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely, I think well, I don't know, all this stuff, but I know that in the Johnny's horoscope, I'm in the year of the dog, and I've always loved dogs as a kid. Absolutely.
Might be why.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, a cat's. I quite like the way the cats just they just don't give a shit. They're just like, you serve me, human. It's very much like
Exactly.
there's a
You
really
know
weird kind
what?
of dynamic there.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
People that think cats are evil or cats are just bastards, I think that it reflects a problem in their own psyche, because
Mm,
cats are more like humans than dogs are. Cats
mm,
know what they want. Cats are particular. They have
mm,
individual personalities, as do
mm.
dogs, but cats are much more peculiar, or like idiosyncratic, you might
Yeah.
say.
They know their
And
own minds,
and
don't they?
and egotistical humans do not appreciate
Mm,
when someone doesn't just like them unquestioningly. So I
yeah.
think if someone says cats are evil, I'm like, red flag. Need to
Yeah.
find what's wrong with you, because there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've learned that, and that pattern has perpetuated, and I've
Yeah.
been right about it. So I think that's my
Yeah.
theory.
Well, that's interesting. So because I kind of say that for a joke, but I don't mean it. I go like cats are evil, but because
Yeah,
for
you
this,
don't mean it though.
no, of course I don't mean it. I just saw I just love some of the memes. There's this one meme where it's got the cat is actually on top of somebody's head, and he's got his paws around the guy's face, and it's like he's the human is like his host, and he's like, take me to the tuna or something like that, like he's controlling the
That's
human.
amazing.
Just thought that was
Oh,
hilarious.
I love it.
I'll see if I can
I
find the
love
meme.
it.
But yeah, no, I don't mean it, but I definitely prefer dogs. So so you don't have a dog yourself, but you're kind of like are you like auntie to?
I'm one of Alfie's godmothers. I get that
Right.
privilege. Um, I've lived with a lot of dogs. I've just never had my own one, which is fine. To be honest, sometimes I don't resent that, because I wouldn't want to have a dog if I'm not fully able to give the dog what it
Yeah.
needs,
Yeah.
which I think is very difficult, and most dogs don't get what they need. I think Alfie definitely gets what he needs.
Mm,
Alfie is a very happy dog. I know a lot of very happy dogs, but
mm,
again, a lot that I lived with a dog called Jasper,
mm.
um, at uni around similar time that I had my cat, but not the actual same time. And I don't feel like he got what he needed. I feel
Right.
like he needed a lot more exercise than he got. And it made me so sad. He'd look at me when I was leaving to go somewhere and be like, "Can you take me out?" And I'd be like, "I'm literally going to uni and you're not allowed on campus." And it would like break my heart every day to see his little eyes just wanting to go with me. And oh God. But obviously you can't always help it because
yeah, it's I know what you mean. Like this morning, obviously, because I knew that we were doing this, I wanted to get up early, and well, I got up and I think it was about 6:30 or something, which is quite early for me, and it was still dark. I was like, right, so I'm doing this challenge and I'm doing this walk in, so I wanted to get my walk in. It's just like I start off with just 1.5 miles. I was like, right, the dog's coming with me, and she's like, she comes downstairs, she wants to use the bathroom. That sounds so weird. I let her out, and then she comes in and she's like, right, snacks, because I get treats when I wake up. So it's like the sooner she goes to the toilet, she's been trained, and she gets a snack. And yeah, that's right. And then she'll just go to her bed downstairs, and it's like her bed is like by a radiator, and it's like this lovely sort of fluffy, like, I mean, I just think you could make those like those circular beds for humans, and I'd buy one, and I'd just
why don't
be
we
in
get
it.
that?
Yeah,
Why do our beds have to be square?
Yeah,
Why can't they be wonderful and round?
It's really weird.
It's true.
Yeah, it's only sort of exotic hotels that you see like, oh, it's a round bed. And I was like, ooh. But yeah, so anyway, so I took her out, and I literally had to pick her up from a bed, which, like, if you mess with her when she's in bed, she's just going to growl at you. So I had to do that, put her lead on, take her out. I took her literally around the corner, and thought, right, I'm going to take her. And I was like really pleased, because it was snowing and it was dark, and I had my head torch, and I was like, I felt really good. It's such a loser, Christ. But anyway, so and I had the dog off the lead. I had the dog off the lead. I just wanted to see, because it's quiet, super quiet, just to see whether she'd be all right off the lead. And so I sort of let her off the lead, started walking, and she's like, I'm not moving, and I'm basically thinking about going. She sort of kept going like this, like she was going to go back. I'm like, she's the only dog I've ever known that like would refuse walks and stuff like that. And I was like,
no, those other ones.
Well, we had this kind of Mexican standoff, and I was like, right, I'm going to break you. I'm going to stand here until you come. And she's like, nah. So I had to go back, and I sort of shouted at her, put her on the lead, and then marched her, and then I took her off the lead again. And then she was okay. So once she gets going, she's okay. But I think she realizes, actually, there's loads of really interesting smells, and the sooner I get through this, the sooner I can actually go back and chill.
See the little cogs turning, can't you? Like, there must be aspects that she enjoys, but maybe she just, her paws are cold. Like some of them, I know dogs that won't go out in the rain. When I was babysitting Flower and Bodhi, which are Dee's amazing dogs, which I just, by proxy, because I can't have my own dogs, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna hang around with your dogs. So I was there for 2 weeks-ish, and Flower, I think it was like one drop of rain at her, but she didn't even want to walk. She's a sausage. Like, I had to put her in a backpack and bring her to the field and then put her down, and then she'd walk. Otherwise, you try and bring her out from the house, you put on the, like, come on, Flower, let's go. She's like,
it's so weird. Like, it
does not move. Literally, you have to drag the sausage, and then I'm like, I don't hurt you. So you have to actually put her in a bag and bring her to the area that she will walk in. It's fucking adorable. I've got photos of her in the Flower Mobile, and it just, she's so cute. But she's a princess. And Dee said that I turned her into a princess because, like, I slept with her in the bed. And when my boyfriend came over, he also was like in the bed with these dogs. We were just like, just snuggle the dogs. And then Flower now likes to sleep in beds. Apparently she wasn't too fussed before, but since I was snuggling her every night, she now likes to be snuggled all the time. So I turned her into a princess.
Jack Russell's, in my experience, so we're on number 3 now, like, they definitely like sleeping in beds.
So little tiny little barrels of cute.
So I mean, but they, like, we've had two that well, no, we've had 3, but the last 2, including Mitzi, this one, I started off and I wanted her to sleep by my bed. So sometimes she'll sleep by my bed, and then about 4 o'clock in the morning, I hear these paws kind of scratching at the side of my the mattress, and I'll just pick her up and put her in bed. But she's got this it's both both have been girls. Last two have been girls, and but they will give me affection, but they won't sleep with me. They won't see that. I don't know whether it's because
Oh,
like,
dodgy.
well, I might, I might die if you roll over onto me. So, but
They're
they'll
smart.
always go and sort of sleep with the mum
Oh,
as opposed to, which I kind of like because,
yeah.
I'm not. I remember a friend. I'm not going to give any names away, but a friend of mine, his wife said, "Oh yeah, X and I nearly said it then. X and I, we fall asleep, with arms around each other." I'm like, come on, really? Like that sounds so uncomfortable, like just
It
fall asleep.
works for about 5 minutes, and then you're like, "Nah, I'm uncomfortable."
Okay, we're
Like
good. Like rotate
pre-sleep
180
snuggles, yes,
degrees.
but
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so that's weird. But yeah, so they won't sleep with me, but yeah, they're just great. And I think that they're yeah, with my last dog, Tinker, it was like, yeah, I really because she had cancer and she had cancer of the mouth.
oh,
She basically had it for a year and sort of fought it off. She chewed it off at one point. It was just like, and I saw it,
oh
I was
my
just like, oh my
lord.
god. And obviously it grew back, but I was like, when you're kind of praying and hoping, like, please. I mean, she did really well, but in the end, it was just. I remember taking her for a walk and just like, no, I don't want to do this. And I was like, okay,
No,
right. And actually, it was on the day that she was scheduled for, to be put to sleep.
no.
And so
When
it
it's
all
time.
kind of worked out. But I kind of did
Mm.
most of my grieving before,
Oh,
while she was still alive. My kids were
mm.
like going, "What's wrong with you? She's still alive. Stop crying." And I'm like,
Oh,
okay. And I was like listening to loads of sad music, But when she died, it was almost like it was like a relief,
mm,
really. There was a
yep.
lightness.
Because then you can see them in pain.
Yeah.
It's yeah,
That's it's just. I
yeah.
mean, how do you do? I mean, like obviously, working with animals, how do you deal with death? Like I just don't think I could do it, even though I'm not emotionally attached to them. I mean, I like. How do you do it? How do you do that?
It it balances itself out. I think a better person to ask this is would be someone that's been practicing a while because
Mm,
um I've taken a bit of a weird route where I took a year out, so I've had
mhm,
like quite a big break from it. But it takes its toll, especially when you're working with, say, when I was working in the big hospital
mm,
when I hadn't graduated yet, all you see is sick animals there because
mm.
they only come there when they're really sick. So especially if you're working in ER, it's just animals on drips. I saw 2 open heart CPRs on big dogs because dogs that have like heavy chested dogs like say
Yeah.
greyhounds or massive Great Danes, unless they're a small dog you can't effectively CPR them if their heart stops. So in some cases you have to literally go inside. I
What
won't
crack the
crack the
sternum
ribs,
open,
yeah,
dude?
try and be as sterile as possible in the time that you've got and do it from the inside. And I'm worried to squeamish people out, so I won't give more details, but it's intense. And then there's like 20 people trying to save this dog's life on a
Mm.
table.
That's
And
amazing.
mostly, yeah, it is amazing to watch. And most of the time when you get to that stage and you have to open heart CPR, they don't survive. Um,
Seriously.
yeah, but the nurses in the ER are literally incredible.
Mm,
They're amazing. We call it ICU, but they're
mm.
absolutely amazing. I've
Why
just
do they
looked
not
after the
survive?
nurses because it's a very much last resort. I think it's
Right.
something it's under 20% that survive because
Right.
you literally have to cut into their chest. So even if they did survive and their heart started beating
Mm.
again, the chances of infection are super high because you're not
Oh,
in a sterile environment. You're in the ICU room and it's like super emergency. There was
right.
one dog that they did it on that he it was very strange because he'd had the same completely unrelated surgery on his knee.
Mm.
Um, and he was fine after that, but for some reason he died and completely no one knew why, because he wasn't sick on the operation.
Right.
He'd recovered. They did everything to procedure to make him as
Mm.
safe as possible. Um, and he died and they did open heart CPR on him, but I think by that time he was dead because they didn't expect it. I
Oh
don't know.
man.
What was the original question? Why did it not survive? Because yeah, the chances, if you have to do open heart CPR, it's very much salvage. And
Yeah.
then if you've opened a chest cavity, they might get infected. So that's not the sort of thing you'd see in a first opinion practice. That's very much
Right.
referral.
Okay.
But seeing stuff like that, it like does really, I think it's a very high tension environment, high stress, and people that work there, they just care so much about the animals, but a lot of them die when but there's high quality of care, so a lot of them don't, but when they're that sick, the chances of them dying is quite high.
So if you're you're working at a practice and the animal that you're working with, dies for, I mean, what's the process for that? Are you just like, disappointment, or is there any kind of, because I just think I don't think I'm strong enough to do that personally. I mean, maybe you get conditioned to it.
Well, I think you definitely do, but at the same time it never stops affecting you, but you learn to deal with it. I had one friend that has been in practice. She graduated the same year as me, but while I was off doing other things, she started doing vet, and she was trying to save this cat. Had, I think, like a multitude of issues, including kidneys, and they just couldn't save it, and they tried literally everything, and she rang me just because she was so upset. I think she just wanted maybe like reassurance that she couldn't have done anything better, but she was just like, just like, what's the word, like almost like yearning that she could have helped it, and that she was like racking her brains or like beating herself up because she felt responsible for this cat. And I was like, you literally couldn't have done anything else. And it's the cats, it's the animals that mean a lot to the owners as well when they have no one else apart from their animal. That's the hardest.
I mean, that's really, because if you're working, let's say, in a farm environment, okay, so I'm going to kind of bite my bottom lip and say, yeah, okay, the farmers care about the animals. Okay, right, I'm going to not say any more than that. Otherwise I'll just go into a rant. But anyway, so let's say that they do, that's fine, but it's not there isn't that, you're not, whereas if you're in a normal veterinary practice, you're seeing groups of people that are like really distressed and like just super gutted. I mean, that I think that must have an impact. Like,
I mean, it's completely different ballpark, farm vetting and small animal vetting. There are definitely many farmers that care about the animals, but it's not on the same level. They're not pets, they're profit. They're not pets, they're profit. So, and it's more like you're like a consultant, you're basically dealing with someone's business. You're not dealing with their pets. But then again, if you're a mixed or farm vet, you'll go and see hobby farmers too. And pet sheep and things, so you will get that. Rarely, but I'm sure it happens. But it's just not the same. And the fact that we have to learn all three and be expected to do all three, when horse is a bit of mixture, because I might be being ignorant, and maybe were a horse vet to listen to this, they might be like, stop chatting shit, you don't even know, because I've limited my exposure to it as much as possible. But horses are both economic. In many cases, they're both economic and pets. So if they compete with their horses, that's economic. If they own a load of horses and have a livery yard or something, they rent the horses out, people share horses, like there's a lot of finance that goes into that, for more reasons than them just being a pet. So the stables that I had to do placement at was in a very posh area, and I think it cost more to keep your horse there than it would to rent like a penthouse apartment in central London. Mad money in horses, but not for the vets, just for the clients. And then obviously there are horsey people that don't have that money, but
so it's like a pet that you don't keep in your house.
Or some people that live in the countryside perfectly can do that. But
I guess,
people, if they own a horse in Wimbledon, they're gonna put their horse in the stables in Wimbledon, and then part of the price is people do all the work for the horse. I think some of them come in and muck out and stuff, but I don't really know how it works. It's very strange, but I could never put myself into that environment and be a horse vet. It's just not an interest to me. And then farms just make me too sad and make me feel like,
why not the horses though? Why not? Because horses are nice animals and
stuff. Yeah, they're great. I don't know. I've just never ridden. I feel like it's this very exclusive world that you have to have been in from a young age. And if you're not, they don't respect you and they don't want you there. That's how it felt being a placement
very cliquey
student.
kind of thing.
100%. That's how it felt being a placement student. So you're, bear in mind, you're made to do 2 weeks of this placement in a stables. All you do is clean up. If you're very lucky, you'll see a horse vet come in and do some work on a horse. You're like, oh god, a vet's coming, yay. But all you do is clean and push poo around. it was harder for me because I had like a really bad back at that time, and they were so unsympathetic. So I don't know, it's a really bad bad memory. But they were so cliquey and so horrible. And the first thing they ask you is, "Oh, do you ride?" And you're like, "No, I've never ridden." And they're like, "Oh." So imagine I've met one person who was a horse vet and never had a horse, and he was pretty cool. I did placement with him for like a day, and he said, "You can totally do it. You just have to work a lot harder, but you have to have a passion for horses, and it's very much a lifestyle that I never was part of and never will be part of." So quite happy to completely distance myself from that aspect of it. Thank you very much.
I wonder what the horsey people are gonna say when they say that.
Hate me, that's fine.
Yeah,
I have horsey friends though, that say, one of my friends that's a mixed vet, then she's really horsey and she's absolutely wonderful. So they aren't all snobby, definitely not, but it's a theme.
Maybe it's the, I don't know, because obviously it's, you know, it's like, you know, like golf or sailing, or, you know, to join a golf club is ridiculous money, you know, to be able to sail, whether you're, you know, renting out a boat, a vessel, or actually owning a boat, mad money. So I suppose there is an exclusivity about that, and I think, you know, being able to have the amount of money, or at least some sort of setup where you can afford to, you know, keep an animal in a different location that's paid for, and I mean, that's, I don't know, I think some people definitely buy into that whole exclusive thing, don't they?
Yeah, it's much cheaper outside of London, I'm sure, to keep a horse. I know people that are on a vet salary and keep several horses, but they don't live in London. It's a very different life, but your whole life revolves around your horses, so you have to get up crack of dawn to sort them out, ride them before you even go to work. So you really that has to be like in your lifeblood. It's so much work, you can't do anything else really.
I remember there was just over Christmas, there was a local dog that went missing, and so I was looking, and he was spotted in the horses kind of field, and it's like where you can learn to ride horses and stuff. And I was like, it's a big area, obviously, you know, because the horses need but there was always maybe about, at least when I was there, sort of really marching across their field saying, "Hi, sorry, grab that dog if it comes anywhere near you." And you know, there was like a minimum of about like 3. Actually, they're all young. They're all females, and most of them were young women that were there. So it was like, it's clearly something that is maybe people love. You know, you've got to have that passion for it. Now, I don't know whether I get the impression that they were just working there, and maybe if they work there, they get a reduced rate at riding horses, or they're passionate about horses or something. But
they just love being around them. It's people are just passionate about horses. I don't, maybe if you work with them from a young age, you can cultivate that, but I think it'd be quite hard to cultivate now, and a lot of effort. And wow, dogs and cats are awesome. I don't need horses.
I
only want to work with dogs and cats.
How does with horses, like, do they always have that thing in their mouth, or
what, the bit? I don't think so. No, it's only when you put them on, like, oh god, I have to remember now. But
can you ride a horse without the thing in its mouth?
I reckon you could, but it would be a bit, you wouldn't be able to control it as well. They have several different types of thing as well. They're all called different things, like bit, and then you have like a, this is why my knowledge is almost non-existent.
That's cool.
Have like bars and different things for different types of riding, and if you're just leading them, you put something different to when you're riding them.
And again, you know, so if anyone is watching this that they know about horsey stuff, then
please tell.
So because as I understand it, it's like they've got this metal bar in their mouth that's like and it's like, if they're pulled that way, they know to go that way. That's so dead. That's so dead. I just
it's not uncomfortable for them though, bear in mind, because they have this thing called a diastema, which is like a gap in their teeth. So they have all the front teeth, big gap, back teeth. So the bar just kind of just chills there. It's not like on their teeth irritating them. So it's not cruel or anything.
There's still something in their mouth that they don't want to have in their mouth.
Oh, God,
like if you said to a horse, like, here, like, just, do you want this in? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they get conditioned to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. And it's probably like a dog with a lead. They're like, oh, I don't really like leads, but I get to go for a walk. So I think horses like riding. They enjoy riding. So
do you think
they can be? Yeah, I think so. I don't really agree with like racing horses
Yeah.
because so many of them break their legs and die and have to be shot on the spot and
Yeah.
things.
You see the black thing round the racetrack, don't you?
Yeah, I've never really, I wouldn't want to be associated with that.
Mm.
If you look at the anatomy of horses, they have all this, they're prey, not predators, right? So they have all this, they're not really meant to like run for long distances, I don't think, if I'm
Yeah.
correct. So they have a lot of weight on top of them.
Yeah,
And
they're
then they have,
muscular animals, yeah.
yeah, and then they have these thin little legs, like, that come down to a point,
A little stick,
maybe
yeah.
ungulates they're called.
What's that about?
I don't really know why that evolved the way it did,
Yeah.
but maybe, I don't know, maybe ease of movement of the legs or something. But
Yeah.
again, just guesses here. But the thing I learnt the most that stuck in my head from vet school was the digital flexor tendons, which are, you know how we have Achilles, it's like their equivalent to Achilles. So this is their foot and the back is here.
Yeah.
They have this tendon here. So when a horse's leg comes down to the floor and takes
Yeah.
their weight, the tendon, it stretches like mad. It's this thick ass tendon, and it, like, their foot, actually you'll see it on a video go like that, and then the tendon around the back is what's supporting all their weight through this foot. And
That's
I'm that, like,
madness.
every time their leg comes down, it like completely, almost, the bone almost hits the floor, and the only thing that's allowing that to happen is the thick ass tendon. So of course, if they're jumping over big things, they're not built for that. I don't think horses are
Yeah.
built to jump.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
think it's fair. But I know nothing about the racing world, so I could really offend a lot of people here. But
Whatevs.
I'm
Yeah.
never going to try and get a job in the horse field. So yeah,
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
does it.
Yeah.
They can be offended. Not that they're going to listen to this, but like, I just don't think it's right that horses should be jumping. They might have to do one jump to get
Isn't
away from a lion, but
isn't
evolutionarily they're
yeah,
not
yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to jump.
Isn't there
I
some
don't
is it Viennese horses that are like there's like that they're bred to be jumping horses? I'm sure it's like
Ooh, I don't know.
years ago.
That sounds cool though.
Yeah, Viennese horses, and they're these horses that can do these really amazing kind of little jumps. But you know, I think like with anything, yeah, while they're doing them and they're trained in their prime, that's fine. But you know, what after, you know, when their tendons are all like burnt out or whatever, or melted away to nothing, well,
Yeah.
what's going to happen to them, you know?
I don't know.
But yeah,
Do the tendons melt away to nothing? I mean, I don't know. It's just maybe quite, if you're putting that much weight through one tendon,
the
it's
energy's got to
quite
go
likely.
somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like they're quite prone to breaking, and
Yeah,
why should we do a sport that makes it likely that your animals will break?
yeah, that's not
Should
nice.
we?
Yeah,
There's
no,
lots of things that humans do that
I'm
aren't
with that.
right, but
Listen, how's lockdown been for you as a young person? I call you a
well,
young person. I don't know if that's appropriate or not.
I guess so. Why not? I think every lockdown has been different. So, like, we've had the three, right? The first lockdown, I was living with Alfie and his wonderful family, Long Boy, because it was weird. I like came back from traveling because I failed my exams because of
Okay.
the farm question,
Yeah.
and the horse question. Probably failed both.
Mhm.
I think is I put all my effort into small animal because I love it, but I just couldn't, like, and this mental state I was in. I look back at it now, and I'm like, I wasn't, like, how I was feeling was not conducive to revision. So
Can
I
you
didn't
finish
absorb
that?
what I
Can you
should have.
go back and finish that?
Oh, I'm done now.
Oh, you're done now. Okay,
Yeah, I just
that's
had to
amazing.
revise for 3 months. I just did the retakes, what they're called. And
Amazing.
even if you fail retakes, they give you another chance, but I didn't, so it's all great.
Oh, super.
Yeah, so the reason I was living there was because I came back to revise. I was traveling and I was like, damn it, I have to come back. So I came back, revised loads, then didn't really have the money at that point because I didn't have a job because I just passed. I didn't have the money to go rent somewhere, and I really didn't want to live at home. So many reasons I couldn't do it to myself.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I just was talking. I think I lived. Oh no, I did live at home for a bit. I lived at home while I revised, and it made me a lot worse than I already was. I was. It's not a very good environment for me, especially when I'm not in a good place.
How
So
do you
then
mean?
I was. I don't get on with my mum very well, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
find her very difficult to.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, if she happens to listen to this, I do love her very much. I appreciate that she put me into the wilds.
We're an hour into the podcast. She's gonna have to be super committed, and that means she loves you. If she's this,
yeah.
We're an hour in and she's still listening.
Yeah.
Then obviously she loves
Thanks,
you.
Mom.
Yeah.
So don't make. I
But
hate.
it's
I
tough
don't want to
though when you grow up though. You know, you reach. I mean, you know, it's normal for there to be like a movement away from your parents. I think that's a normal
Yeah.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be. It should be accepted. I don't think it was accepted in my case. And
Okay.
I was made to feel very guilty for it.
Right.
Whether she realized that or not, or did it deliberately,
Mm.
she guilt tripped me a
Okay.
lot throughout uni because I just wouldn't come home, and it was because I was trying to get away from what I inherently knew was in some ways a toxic environment, and I was
Yeah.
just trying to protect myself. But she can't see that,
Yeah,
or
of
maybe she
course.
can now, but she couldn't at the time. But I just couldn't. I lived there, and it was making me. I just knew that I needed to get out. So I ended up just living with my friends and
Yeah.
Alfie's family because they offered.
Yeah.
And they're like the most wonderful people probably
Yeah.
on this earth. They're like such an amazing family. I can't
Mm.
even, if you could picture a family that's functional, they're like the archetype of most functional, loving family that genuinely love each other and don't argue, and like they're wonderful and so giving and so kind. Like it's unbelievable that humans like that still exist.
Wow.
But they do, and they're amazing. So I lived with them for the whole of first lockdown. So which was awesome because it never felt like you were really isolated because there were 6 of us in a house. So there was always something to do. I was never bored or anything.
Yeah.
The only problem was I just missed Muay Thai so
Mm.
much. I would honestly cry. Like I
Mm.
cried so many times just
Oh,
because I
really?
missed. Yeah, call me pathetic.
No, no, that's awesome.
My like reason for living for 4 years was Muay Thai, and that's
Mm.
literally the only reason I had. I hated everything else. I hated my
Okay.
degree for a lot of it. I like didn't like my living situation.
Mm.
I was like so miserable, and I
Mm.
just like channeled everything into Muay Thai.
Mm.
I literally would not miss a session for even an exam. I
Mm.
made sure that everywhere I went, I was training.
Mm.
So super obsessive. Like I said, that's what I'm like
That's
with
epic.
sports. And there's definitely disadvantages and advantages to that.
Mm.
But yeah, so I just missed Muay Thai so much, and it was so kind of them. So I had a bag, like a really light bag, and my friend's dad, he like drilled it into their garden. What's it called? Like a shed. They had like a shed, and he
Yeah.
actually, because his whole job is furniture building, they are super good with their hands. So he like
Oh,
in about
fantastic. Yeah.
2 seconds, just like, yeah, sure, just drill it into the thing. So I had a bag, and it was amazing. So that was really good. And I taught Katie a bit of Muay Thai, and like
Mm.
which was cool. But I just missed my gym because my gym, as I was told by my therapist, was my substitute family that I had made
Yeah.
in my brain.
Well,
Whoa.
but it is a family, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I think, I've been doing, like I said, martial arts and stuff since I was a long time, and I've noticed that in Muay Thai and in Jiu-Jitsu, there is this real sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, family, and I think I have a theory, and I think it's because you're because you're actually spending time not just together, but because you could be doing that in any sport, but actually you're actually making physical contact, and there's grappling in obviously jiu-jitsu is grappling, but in Muay Thai, you're literally grabbing hold of something. There's a lot of physical contact, and although theoretically it's like, well, yeah, but you're fighting each other, there's still that
Yeah.
that idea that you're both you're really exerting great effort, and at the end of it, you get to hug and shake hands, and it builds massive bonds, doesn't it? So I
think,
get that. I
yeah,
think that's a real thing.
there's
I think it's an
something,
amazing thing about martial arts.
yeah, to allow each other to hit each other, there has to be a level of trust that you probably wouldn't get in other sports, because you have to trust each other to not actually injure each other.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so grating when you get someone that can't control their power. And it depends, because if they're new, you kind of understand, you're like, they'll learn over time that they need to learn how to hit fast but not hard. And I was like that. I would hit too hard maybe at first because I was nervous, and but it's when you get the guys that are stubborn, they don't listen, and they have such a huge ass ego that I don't know what's going on in my brain. I can't pretend that I can get inside their brains and be like, this is why they do what they do. But I feel like there's usually one in each gym that just spars like an absolute nutter and not Thai, and that's like really un-Thai style. They're usually like that. I'm a mixed martial artist and I've done this martial art, which can be great. Don't get me wrong. But then when you come to a Muay Thai gym and you spar like an absolute spastic and you want to take people's heads off, it's not that's not the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
stop. But they
Mm-hmm.
don't, there's no point wasting your energy getting angry, because they don't understand and they won't understand. So you
Yeah.
just need to kind of avoid them as much as possible and wait till they leave, because they won't last,
Mm-hmm.
because they'll eventually leave the gym and stop coming because they don't have the commitment.
Mm.
But it's usually the same people that are like, I don't want to do pad work, I don't really like technique, but they'll come for spa, and then they'll smack your head off, so you don't feel like you can try anything.
Yeah.
So they ruin that trust. There's usually, and you can't, like,
So
unless people are really horrible, I wouldn't expect them to be kicked out of the gym. It's just really difficult to navigate that,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
because everyone has the right to be there, everyone has the
Yeah.
right to train, but people just don't understand the culture. If some people just don't get it, and they won't get the Thai culture, and you don't have to have gone to Thailand to understand that. You just have to be sensitive.
I mean, it's a long time since I've actively trained Muay Thai, but I know certainly in Jiu-Jitsu, when you get somebody who comes in and, you know, they're like outside of the family, if you like, and they come in and they're like, you know, like Jiu-Jitsu sparring is usually, it's quite playful, and, you know, it's sort of, there's not really much aggression there. It's more focus, technique, and stuff like that. I suppose I'm being really stereotyped about that, but you get some guys that are like trying to kill people, like take people's head off, and you know, if they're more experienced, then they're like beating up white belts, and you know, usually the standard practice is that there's an enforcer, there's somebody, you know, that is quite experienced and good, and you know, that they will basically go and hand out an ass kicking to that person.
It's like unspoken law.
and break them. I mean, is
Yeah.
that something that happens in Muay Thai gyms?
I'd say, yeah, it can do.
So it's like, right, you're going with John, you're going with him, and then it's like, okay, then they need to kind of be broken, and maybe had a little word with them or something like that.
Yeah, I think maybe there should be more talking sometimes. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't, and I'm not pretending that I see everything that happens, but I think a lot of the time I've sparred with a lot of people, just proportionally to how long I've been doing the sport, I'd say. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet or anything. I've just been to a lot of gyms. And usually the people that do that, and they hit too hard, and they aggravate you because they're really tense, they're usually scared, and they wouldn't admit that because they're men, and men don't admit they're scared, most men, but it's that you can read. You just can, I don't know if everyone can do this, but I'm just very able to read people's energy a lot of the time, and it can also be a massive curse because I get too involved in things and too absorbed into other people's emotions. But you can sense what type of energy they have, and some people that aren't experienced, they're just really like, oh my god, I just need to do this really well, and then as a result they're so tense that they can't hit properly, or they can but they just smack you in the face. So there's that, and then there's people that are really good, and you often find that the really highly skilled people spar so light and it's beautiful, and they let you practice, and they're not worried, they're chilled, like they have that Thai vibe about them. But then occasionally you get like the really experienced guys that don't have to do that, but they do, and you're like, what is that? Like, is that ego? Is that, sorry if I use this word a lot, but I've realized that I think it rules, and it's one of the plagues of humanity is the male ego. I honestly think, like,
for sure,
I know very not small handful of people, and not specifying which gyms at all, but that they're very good, and there is no reason why they would have to hit like as hard as they do. And I understand that if it was a hard sparring session and you go to get mashed and practice getting mashed, then absolutely do that. But if you're like medium to light spar session and they don't have a light spar mode, you're like, but you can, so why are you doing this? You know? And I think that's an issue within themselves. Like, martial arts is so strange because it's so linked to your inner state, regardless of which one it is. I'm sure the others are like that, but if you're getting someone that's very skilled and they're hitting you really hard and they're just like destroying you, if it is a time and a place, but if it's not the time or the place and they just do it all the time, what does that say about them? Why are they doing that? Why do they need to do that? There's something that in them that is not settled. I mean, makes sense.
I mean, I recall, and I suppose to some extent still in jiu-jitsu. Maybe I've got a similar attitude where I'll kind of usually start off quite gentle and slow, and just seeing what the other person's got, and then and you're talking about energy, and sometimes you'll go in here and their energy's here, and you have to like you have to jump up there, and
Yeah, or do you not? Because if you're told that this is light spa and there's someone up here and you're like, I've been told that I have to keep my
yeah
energy down here.
yeah
And I know that this is this thing that I should be doing because it helps me to learn, it helps you to learn. But they're like smack, 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 and you're like, oh, okay, it's really hard to
so
keep that
yeah
down.
so I think with it, I think with experience, I think without experience, I think you'll naturally go up to meet their energy levels. I think with experience, you can learn to channel your response through their technique. And what I mean by that is, and I think it's the same for Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu, really, which is that if somebody's really coming at you and they're being really physical and stuff like that, you can actually use your technique to just school them without changing your anger, and then
Yeah, 100%.
and
You're not affected by it.
yeah, so and
Yeah,
that's and it's like you're getting a level of revenge or a level of retribution, but it's a dish that's served cold as opposed to because then
yeah,
that way
exactly.
you lose your shit and your technique goes out the
Yeah,
window. And so
yeah.
rather than just and I think in my experience being able to do that, and be able to if somebody is like really rambunctious and really super physical, but they're over a period of like maybe 5 minutes they've tapped like like 3, 4, 5 times or whatever, then it usually has an impact on them. They're like, wow, that's amazing and stuff like that, and then they'll go away, and they have to sort of quite often they have to rejig their map of the world, and
Yes,
and I think that
100%.
with somebody that's good in Muay Thai as well, that you can just be outclassed,
Yeah,
and you can be outclassed, you don't
yeah,
you can still be kind of like be taught that lesson without actually having to be beaten up, just by being absolutely outclassed and outmaneuvered and out
yeah.
technique. But and I
That's the
think
levels.
there's yeah, that's right, it's levels, and there's no need to willfully apply your your
Yeah,
power and your strength
yeah,
if it's not been asked for, unless the only thing that could be going on there is if you've got like super heavy hands or feet or whatever, or really strong, and you're not cognitive, you're not aware of that,
mm,
and the other person is like, oh my god, like they're really going for me, so they come. But I just think that's probably
yeah.
more of an
That,
unlikely thing than
that's no, it's a more beginner thing. Because yeah, I can think of examples of all these cases. There's guys that I know that are like sweetest guy ever, just doesn't know how hard he hits.
yeah.
Reasonably skilled, but he's not at the level of skill where he understands
Mm,
that he's
mm,
hitting too hard and it's
mm,
becoming unproductive.
mm,
Because especially if you're like, for example, not in a gym environment where
mm,
it's less controlled, like
mm,
lockdown, and you need to be safer,
mm,
then but then you can tell from the person that they don't mean harm,
mm.
or you can at least think you can tell. I think I can.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but yeah, and on the other hand, what you said about the outclassing, which is
Mm,
like the best way to do it, and you don't
mm,
even need to put any,
mm,
because there's two ways of doing it. You can like put someone in their place, as this usually happens between guys. Someone's being a dick, and
mm.
a more skilled fighter just like bashes the shit out of them,
Yeah.
to put them in a place. But
Mm,
I've seen the better way, which is what you're describing, recently. A really experienced, really skilled fighter that I just love to bits. I really admire him. Was sparring in a group with a, again, mixed martial artist, done a lot of martial arts, knows a lot of martial arts much
mm,
better than he knows Muay Thai.
mm,
Um, Again, I really respect him as a person. I think he's really
mm.
cool, but I really struggled sparring him at first. I
Right.
thought, because his energy was just like, he was a nervous type, and he also
Right.
wasn't Thai style. So very difficult to know what he's going to do. There's like spinning back kicks and like, which like aren't forbidden. So you don't feel like you can't be like, don't do that, mate. Like this is Thai spa, because that's just dick, isn't it? Dick move. But super skilled guy. I saw this moment. Oh my God, it was magical, right? So it was, I think, just 3 of us that day, me and 2 guys. And there was this moment where the less experienced of the 2, he finally like began to spar lighter, and I could see him relaxing because there was fewer of us, so it was less like pressure, which is, but unspoken, you know, but there is.
For sure.
And the only other people with him was one really experienced guy that spars probably the lightest out of the group, because he doesn't need to spar hard, and that's just his personality. He's like chilled as hell. And me, so I'm not really threatening because I'm a woman. But I get it. I do get it.
Racist.
It's less. it's a vibe. Like you'd be less threatened by a woman in a hitting situation, sure, okay. And there's a lot of issues with sexism in the sport, but I do understand that that's how you'd feel. And it's like he had this realization. If he's watching, I hope he appreciates this, but it made me so happy because he was like, oh my God, you're just so controlled. And I don't feel like I feel like I can practice stuff with you. I feel like I can, like, I don't need to be worried. And I was like, you get it. Like, this is how it's supposed to be. And you need to know how that feels in order to hard spar. Like, you need to know how light spar feels to then be able to hard spar. If you haven't learned to light spar, your hard spar is going to be a shit show because you're going to be so nervous. But he finally understood what it was like to be able to practice and that you don't need to be tense. And I was like, oh my God. And I told him afterwards, I was like, you have got so much better. And I told him, because I'd like trying to be honest with people sometimes, I said, I found it so hard to spar you when we first met, and I hated it. Because you're just so tense and your energy was all wrong. But I was like, I just want to tell you that you're so much better than you were. I hope you didn't think I was being like, because it's always a bit difficult to say that as a girl in a man's sport, and it shouldn't be. You should be equal, but that's a difficult thing for me to say because you are inherently worried about bruising egos, which happens a lot with men, and you don't want to give them the wrong impression. Like, that's meant to be a compliment. But for some men, that'll be like, okay. But no, he took it really well because he's a nice person. But his personality didn't quite translate to sparring because he was not very experienced in Muay Thai. And it was just such a beautiful moment that he learned that through the experienced guy who has taught me a lot as well. Like, he's a very good teacher as well, and he's taught Muay Thai before. So I super admire him, and that was like one of the moments that I admire him the most for, because like without even doing anything, you know, he taught that. It's amazing.
No, that's really cool. And I think that's one of the things about martial arts, is that there is this it's not just about learning techniques, it's learning things about yourself, you know, learning self-mastery, absolutely. And learning that actually there is a gauge of how much output you can give. You know, if you think, all right, okay, you're going to spar that person, you know, at one point of a person's development, they're going to think, okay, that means I'm going shit or bust kind of thing. But, you know, obviously with experience, you know, that kind of like that almost like combat maturity sort of comes about. And they, you know, for most people, I guess, I'm sure there are kind of outliers that are just like, no, they're just nuts all the time kind of thing. But, you know, good luck with that. And, you know, there might even be successful people that are doing that. I don't know. But
there are nuts people, very few, but there are very experienced people that are just fucking whacking sparring, and you're like, why are you being so aggressive all the time? But very experienced, but that's few and far between. Normally when they're really experienced, the more experienced, the chiller they are and the better they are to spar.
So you've had fights, right?
I mean, some people don't even call them fights when they're not pro. I don't know if you're of that mindset.
No, of course they are.
I don't know, some people are. So I've done a mixture of pro-am and K1 amateur.
Brilliant.
So never done no shinies yet. And this year was supposed to be the year that I was fighting lots. Like, we would agree we were going to try and get a fight a month, which probably wouldn't have happened because it's hard to match, but we were going to really try and ramp it up because I was not in a position where work was really getting in the way of stuff. And I'd graduated finally, so I could stop trying to take exams and shit. So I was like, right, we can actually focus on fighting this year. COVID.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, that hasn't happened in a while. I did manage to get a few in 2020 though, so I'm lucky at least. I got a few.
And it sounds like because you had young experience, or what does that mean? You had basically competition experience when you were
Yeah.
young, be it in gymnastics or cheerleading or and stuff like that. That did that kind of like help you with regards to the competitive element of
Yeah,
the
definitely.
preparation side?
Yeah, maybe not with the preparation side, because it's completely different.
No, I mean, like, sorry, I'm so used to when I would say preparation, I obviously mean mental preparation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even then it's so different.
yeah, okay.
It's like I think the sports I've done before, they'd all been team. And yeah, Muay Thai is kind of a team sport because you're just your coach's robot in a way. Like the better you are, the more you listen to them, and the more you're doing what they tell you. So you're not on your own ever in the ring, really. But it's also not dependent. You don't rely on anyone else. Whereas cheerleading and gymnastics, I always had to, like, it was a team. Like, if someone else messed up, there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
In Muay Thai, it's all on you. So
Oh yeah.
to listen and to perform. So there's nothing anyone else can do that you can be like, oh, they messed up, so I messed up. Like, no, it's all you. You are completely responsible for your actions, which is a great thing. But yeah, just having having competed, I was just like in my mind, like I always wanted to. The moment I saw those people sparring, I was like, I want to do that. I want to compete it. So I can't really do a sport without competing. I don't know how that.
Did you see when you fought in Muay Thai? Did you see it that okay, it's a competition and I'm going to have a fight, but it's actually a sport competition, or did you sort of see it as in I'm having a fight?
Both. No, I think it's a competition. Yeah, it's definitely a competition because it's a fight, but it's not a fight. Like it's a controlled fight, and yes, you can smack the hell out of the person and injure them, and it's very likely that you'll get injured, but it's not like a street fight. I think that's why people misunderstand. It's like, oh, you're just like really barbaric and you like have too much anger. That's my pet hate. Oh, you must be really angry if you fight.
No, I'm not angry because I fight. Yeah,
Partly. It's like this actually helps me to not to be angry,
course,
but you won't understand because you don't actually make the effort. The people that say that are usually the men that come up to you in gyms when they see you hitting the bag and trying to hit on you, and then, or in my case, repeatedly harass you for like 3 years straight until you finally stick up for yourself.
Seriously?
Yeah, I had that at uni.
That is actual proper stalky.
Unbelievable. So it was just, you know, when you're like, how did I allow that for so long? But there's so many things in my life that I've allowed because I wasn't strong enough to like stick up for myself, and I've only learned that through therapy. But I had this guy at, I don't want to, like, I'm obviously not going to dub him in it, but, and I'm not going to mention which establishment, even though you could put 2 and 2 together, but a lecturer, literally. I was in the same gym for 3 years, and I would go in, I'd use the weights, I'd do bags. Luckily, we had a bag. It's the same gym as I did most of my boxercise in with the guy that took me to Diablo.
Sure.
Because he used to teach at the uni and it was near Diablo, so that's how that's linked. I just would go and mind my own business. I started very early on, like coming up to me making comments.
Like what? I mean, is he like
It started subtle, so I can't even remember the beginnings of it. But then as time progressed, it would like become sexual. He'd ask me, just as the few that I can actually remember, oh, you seem really angry today. You're hitting the bag extra hard. Like, are you pissed off at your boyfriend? Or,
that's so
are you going to do that to your
creepy.
boyfriend when you get home? Another one, oh, well, your wrap's red because you've got blood on your hands and you're trying to hide it. And then I was downstairs, like after a boxercise class. This is the worst one. So I have a really, obviously my bad back is bane of my life. There's this massage roller that I discovered late into uni, which is like a peanut shape. So it's got 2 balls. Yes, bit phallic, cool. Get over it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're great. So you can lie on the floor and you can have either
and it
side
rolls
of your
either
spine.
side of your
Yeah, exactly. So that's the exact bit, because my ligaments are lax now because I've got less disc. My muscles are super tight. So that's perfect for me and for my neck. And I used to use it on my feet as well, because bear in mind, I'd be training like 3 different gyms 5 times a week minimum.
Wow.
And like running, and I was like mad fit back then.
Yeah.
So my feet would get sore because I was kicking like however many hundreds of times a week.
Sure.
So I'd roll my feet like because my feet would get really sore. And he kept making comments about my peanut massage roll. He was like, oh, you look like you're rolling on a pair of bollocks. Like, he interrupted a conversation I was having once with other staff members in the gym just to come over and tell me that I was rolling on balls. And he made several comments about the dick balls that I was using. And I'd had injured knee just from overuse, and he'd be like, Elsa, what happened to your knee? And I was like, oh, I just injured it. And then he just like gave like unsolicited, you should do this for your knee. I'm like,
What, did he get hands on?
okay. No, thank God.
Oh my
But
God,
he
you
just like
fucking
gave
knee
me
him in the
physio
face.
advice, like, oh, the best thing to do is you don't even know what my injury is, mate. Like,
Yeah.
he is horrible, and he's had other complaints made about him too.
Yeah.
I know other people that can't stand him, but I finally stood up for myself. I actually talked to my training partner about it, and she was like, I believe in you. You can totally like
You need
just
to
tell
front
him
him.
where to shove it. Yeah, and I told him, I think you've been harassing me for 3 years, and I don't think it's right. He ended up
Amazing.
examining me as well because he was a lecturer. So
Oh,
you imagine the crossover. Like, I was already crapping myself for those exams, and I saw him as one of the examiners of the practical station. I was like, oh my God, are you joking? It's just so unprofessional. It's horrible.
that's really
I
creepy.
never escalated it. I should have escalated it.
Yeah.
I never did. I just
Yeah.
talked to him, and he was like, oh, it's only ever meant to be a compliment. It was the most awkward conversation I've ever had, because I kind of shy away from conflict like that,
Mm.
because I know a lot of girls do, and it's kind of something I'm not proud of.
Mm.
But I just told him that I just don't appreciate these comments that you've been making for years, and I
Yeah, that
just
is
really
creepy.
wish that you'd stop.
Yeah.
And he did stop after that, but it took so long for me to do that, and it shouldn't have taken that long.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a difficult situation because obviously, if the guy was a lecturer and you're a student, and it's like there's clearly a power relationship there.
Exactly, power dynamics.
Whether that's something that is kind of in your mind or not, it certainly exists. And I sort of think, well, I wonder what would happen if you bought like a Big Joe from the club down, and just like hold him up, like,
Yeah.
can you stop
Oh,
that,
he
please?
was huge, mate. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone could have held him. I was a big power lifter type guy, like
Oh right.
very
So,
peacocky. He would come into the gym like, I'm so strong, which he was. Like,
yeah.
fair play.
Yeah.
He was very
That doesn't mean
strong,
you can
but
fight though.
no,
No.
it means nothing in
Yeah.
the fight world. But yeah, it's not fair, because imagine the fear in my head could be, well, if I make an enemy of him, then he could mark me
affect
down
your
in my exams.
studies.
No one
Yeah,
would ever
that's
have any
that really
proof
is.
that it was that reason. It's the
Yeah.
same reason why people get harassed on their placements. I've met, not everyone, obviously, thank God, but I've met a few people that have actually had harassment issues with farmers on their placements, and they haven't said anything because they want to get their paperwork signed
Right.
off, and they don't want to go again. They don't want to do it again.
That's so creepy though,
awful.
isn't it? Because that's
Yeah.
sort of similar to the way you get like the sort of the pedo characters were like, I know what, I'll go and work in a school, like, and then
Yeah.
and then then that sort of person is in that perfect kind of environment where they can
Yeah, I think with
manipulate young, but it's disgusting. But
yeah, I think with farmers, it's more like they just don't. From what I've heard, and I'm again sorry if I'm being ignorant, but I think a lot of farmers just don't see a lot of women.
right.
So it's more of a big deal when a female vet student comes to the farm. I had a harassment farmer. It wasn't massive. It was like nothing that I would have reported. He was like 65, 70, I don't
Bless.
know, like really old, really old.
Yeah.
For a farmer anyway,
What did
like
you to
how are
come
you
and
still
make him
working?
tea?
No, but he made so many comments about my ass, and I was like 18.
That's
He
so
would
bad.
comment on it like at least 4 times in the 2 weeks that I was there. Like I literally was so overt as well. I remember standing up from the sofa. He was like, "What a bum!" Like,
Oh my God, that's
and then I was in a sheep pen. Like, this is so vet student story. I was like in a sheep pen trying to milk a sheep because the sheep had misshapen udders and she couldn't get the milk to her lamb. Oh my God, I hate farms. But I was in there like, one of the farmers told me, can you try and get some milk off her, put it in a bottle and give it to the lamb? So I was like, fuck. So I've never obviously don't know how to milk anything. I'm a city girl, like, help.
right.
So I got in there, was like trying to milk this sheep,
Oh
like,
my
fuck, it's
God.
not working. And this farmer, this old ass farmer, he steps over the gate in this little tiny pen, and like, that's not how you do it. You're doing it wrong. And he like, I was crouched, and
No,
he put his whole body over me, and
sort
then
of around
reached
you.
under the sheep. So he was literally like hugging me
That's
to like
vile.
milk the sheep. And my friend who I was on placement with was like at the other side of the barn. I remember being like, Peg, come help me.
Yeah.
She was
No,
so far away.
that's so creepy.
But
I
that's so
wonder.
grim. But it's the
Oh,
same as power dynamics, isn't it? Because if I had
yeah.
said anything and I leave the farm, I have to do it again, and they don't sign my paperwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm sure that kind of thing actually goes on a lot more than is reported.
100%.
But I just wonder, like, what was his end game? Like,
Oh God,
does he
I don't
think
know.
that, was he, did he think, I know what, as a young lady, I'll pay her a compliment about her backside. I mean, like,
No,
maybe by doing that, she'll like me and we'll get a date, but
I don't think there's an end game. I think they're just thinking from their penis,
yeah,
honestly.
possibly. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. That's so weird. But so anyway, so the rest of lockdown is,
Yeah, sorry, I
have you kind of,
diverted.
no, it's excellent. Thank you. Um, are you and people, because how old are you now, Mel? I mean,
25.
sorry, Nat. 25. Oh God, 25. I'm literally twice as old as
Male,
you.
oh
That's
bitch.
so depressing. I'm twice as old as you.
I'm
I've
sorry.
been around twice as long as
I'm
you.
sorry.
That's ridiculous.
It's
No, don't be
actually, because
sorry.
sometimes time blows my mind,
Yeah,
because
it's
I'm
crazy,
like,
isn't it?
how many things have happened in 25 years? I'm like, how many more things could happen in 25 more years if I'm still
Hmm.
lucky enough to be alive by then?
Yeah.
Oh my God, like that's
Yeah, it's
incredible.
nuts.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
It's
like,
crazy.
so for you guys that you're 20 somethings, like, how are you and your pals dealing with lockdown? Does it
So
vary or is it
yeah, it has varied. I think it varies from person to person probably. But this is why I tried to explain that every lockdown's been different for me, because the
sure?
first one with Katie family. So whilst I missed Muay Thai, I was so lucky that I was in
Mm,
such an amazing environment with them. And the only reason I moved out really was because I knew that gyms were going to open. I didn't want to be a burden of danger to a family that was shielding,
okay,
and I
yeah,
knew that I could not
yeah,
train. So I was
because
like,
you're
right, I
being
need to get out
exposed to other people. Yeah,
before I become dangerous.
no, that's
So
decent.
I left for that reason, and then I moved into this place, which I've been in since. So second lockdown was very different. At
Mm,
first I was like, this is lonely as fuck, but it's okay. Like I've got a lot of headspace to think
mm,
a lot of things through.
mm,
I'd had a very stressful few years, so it was
mm,
kind of nice to have that,
mm,
not pressured to do anything. And I'd given myself a very easy job to allow myself to recover from all the shit that I'd sort of allowed in and let escalate over the last few years.
right.
So it was okay. I remember my coach texted me like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's just really lonely, but I kind of like it."
Mm,
and
mm,
then and then I was running to Lidl, because I used to do my run up here, and then I go around the park, and then I go to shops. So I'd like combine, because I hate running, so I combine runs with other
mm,
things to make me do them. I was running to Lidl, and there's a fence. If I point straight ahead of me, there's a fence, and then over the fence there's a gym, like an outdoor gym.
mm,
And I was walking past the fence on my way to start my run, and I saw a guy shadowboxing. I was like, "That's a Thai boxer. Oh
mm.
my God, it's a Thai boxer."
Make friends with him.
Yeah, and I hadn't done
Yeah.
Muay Thai in like months of the first lockdown, right? And I was like, "Oh my God, it's a Thai boxer." But I'm kind of like, if you don't know me, I'm quite shy. I'm really awkward. So I was like, "Oh God, I really want to go say hi." I'm like very always think that I'm a burden to people. So I was like, I really want to go say hi, but he might be like, "Who the fuck you, go away?" Like that sort of paranoia. But I was like, do it, because if you don't do it, think of how many things that wouldn't have happened for you if you hadn't been brave. So I was like, fine, fine,
Nice.
fine,
Good to
do
know.
it. So I went down and I was like, "Hello, are you a Thai boxer?" And he was like, "Yes." And then we obviously got chatting, because everyone in Muay Thai is so nice. Um, and then his other mate turned up, because they were sparring together. They were like outdoor sparring. Um, and they invited me to train with them, and I was like, "Thank you. Oh my
Brilliant.
God." So the whole of second lockdown was like, out of pure luck of where I moved to,
Mm,
me just, I think what kept me going through second lockdown was sparring.
mm.
Let's not beat around the bush and pretend that fighters weren't sparring, even though it was illegal. Like
Yeah,
people were sparring all
of
over the
course it
place.
was.
So let's
Same with
just get that
jiu-jitsu.
straight. Not in gyms, but outdoors.
Yeah.
Maybe in gyms, who knows? Maybe the pros were, I think, maybe, I don't know. But I got so much good sparring in lockdown
Mm,
too. And from the guys I mentioned before were the same group of people. It started off as a really small group. So I was like so grateful that they let me in, because they're good. Like
mm,
they don't have to have this randomer in here. I could have
mm,
been shit for all they know. I've told them
mm,
this to their face as well. I've been like, "You know what? I could have been so annoying, and you just like let me join you, and as a result, like you've kept me sane, and you're such nice guys. Like I'm so grateful." And they were
mm.
always just so nice to me and stuff. Um, like one of them's had like 40 fights in Thailand, I think.
Amazing.
Another's had a few in Thailand. One of them's I think he's like British champ, or don't know if I should name names or not, but I'm sure he wouldn't care. But I've got some
Would
like
you?
really high caliber sparring, and I'm really grateful for it. There was obviously a few people that joined. I think I was the first outsider, and then there was a few noobs that came along that sort of maybe diluted the standard, and I apologize if that was me starting it or whatever. But they're just chill guys, and I know that they often spar on their own, and I'd never I haven't sparred with them this lockdown, and I know they've been training, but I'm just so grateful that they even had me for the time they did. And I know it's more difficult to train now.
Very difficult.
Yeah, so for whatever sparring I got on, whether or not I'll train with them again, I'm like super grateful that I got to do that, because they taught me a lot, and it was like hard ass sparring as well. So really beneficial. Like, I just love them. They're really cool guys. So that was my second lockdown. I'm working from home because I'm not yet vetting at this point. So yeah, that was basically a summary of that. I think in general how people are handling it this lockdown has been harder without Muay Thai, but it's been weird because of the weather. Like, first and second lockdown, I was entirely motivated to exercise. Like, my whole life I've been an exercise addict, so there was no different. Even when I was living with the family, we'd run every morning, we'd do circuits in the evening. Like, it wasn't an issue, and it was summer. Second lockdown, running less probably, but more sparring, so fine, more outdoor gym stuff. Third lockdown, what the hell has happened? Like, I am completely unmotivated. I have to force myself out the house to run. I've done like 2 circuits with a kettlebell. I'm like not myself. It's really weird. I don't know if it's, I think, but part of me, I have a theory that I was so upset in the first lockdown without Muay Thai. I was so like distraught that it'd been taken away from me. And that's like quite a painful experience to have on a daily. So now that it's very difficult to train now, I think I feel like I'm self-protecting. I think I'm just not allowing myself to feel that missing it. And as a result,
You're
I'm like
mentally
repelling it.
shielding. Yeah.
I'm like repelling Muay Thai. I'm like, don't watch it. I watched it every day in first and second lockdown. And now for some reason, I'm like, I don't want to, what happened? I haven't been like this in 4 years. Like, this is so weird, but I'm just trying to let it pass. And when the gym's open and stuff, maybe everything happens for a reason, I think. And maybe this is my body telling me that you need this mental and physical break, so just take it. I don't know.
I think so. I
could also be like completely just allowing my weakness and just giving myself excuses to be weak. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's really difficult to get martial arts training in at this time.
It is.
And hopefully
Grass is like lethal.
Maybe this year, in the next few months, we're going to see that change and things go back to more kind of normal.
There's other stuff that's playing into it as well, and like my own like recovery process and things that makes it very complicated in my own brain. I'm just kind of like letting it ride out, and there's other things that have taken its place for now, and I hope it's not like for good, and I'm sure I'll become like as obsessed as I was as soon as things go back to normal. But it's definitely made space for other stuff, so it's made me like a less single-minded person, because I was like, Muay Thai was just it, that was
everything. But I think that's, life has got its seasons, isn't it? And there's, and I've had, many years where it was just like, it was like only jiu-jitsu, or it was only Muay Thai, or it was only this, or it was only that. And I think, as you get older, these life happens to you, and it gives you opportunities for you to bring in different influences in your life, and it just helps you put everything in perspective. And that doesn't mean that those things aren't valuable, but it just means that you can appreciate. It's like, so I had this thing where my first kid is a boy, and then we were expecting second baby, and I was like, please let it be a boy, please let it be a boy, for the simple reason that although I always wanted a girl, and I used to think, what's this got to do with anything? But it's just like, because I'd kind of like started to raise a boy, I was like, I kind of know how to do that. So it'd be easier. So because it'd be mentally easier for me, I was just like, that's what, but but that didn't happen. And, I learned how to, I can remember, using detangler spray to get in combing the knot, because my daughter used to curl her hair. She used to twiddle with her hair at night, and so like she'd sort of wake up, and and I did a lot of the childcare because I work from home,
Cool.
and so there'd be like this like uni dread,
Oh
and
God, I
it
used
would
to have
just,
one of those.
and I'm like,
Yeah, so
I don't have any
how do I deal with
experience
this
really
thing?
with, so I had to just like systematically create, like, I'm going to separate these strands and comb them, and then
That's what we
that's there.
do.
And I would
You're doing
fold
it
them over
right.
the ear. I'd fold them over the
Oh,
ear, like keep that
cute.
there, and then I go right, and and it's like, and it gave me an appreciation for things that, I'm not saying I really enjoyed it, but it 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 expanded my skill set, so I know how to
Yeah,
do female,
yeah.
like to untangle female hair. I don't know what that's got to do with anything, but
It's a challenge. Don't even.
mm,
I had for. I feel your pain because I used to have even thicker hair than this,
mm,
and for years of my life I had to spend hours daily detangling the dread that would form like underneath here. Um, so then because it was such a faff, I was like, I'm just going to dread my hair because it wants to
really,
dread. So I had dreads for like a year,
really,
but I didn't persevere enough, and I actually realized it was really expensive. So you have to, if you're not able to maintain them yourself, because it's really hard to, you have to go back every few months to get them like re-interlocked, and it cost 60 quid each time. And I was a student, I didn't have that money, so I
oh
was
my
like,
god,
and then I was like having a meltdown at the same time, and I was like, I need to control something. So then I just brushed all my dreads out, and
right,
I lost like 2/3 of my hair volume.
oh my
And I was
god,
like, I could see my head, like I was bald, and I've always had such thick hair. I was like, oh my God, my life is over, like I've got no
yeah,
hair left. And it's since grown back to this like medium thickness level. It's just so much more manageable.
mm,
And I've like, through that difficulty, I've now learnt what to do to make my hair as easy and as nice to manage as possible. But I
mm,
wouldn't have learnt that if I hadn't done the stupid thing,
mm.
which was brushing them all out and not actually properly researching before I got them dreaded. So I guess that, yeah, I understand the knot thing, and also trials and tribulations, right? Like if you do a
Well, that's
hard
how
thing,
you
then you
grow,
learn
yeah.
from it.
Absolutely, absolutely. um yeah, I think that's part of the journey, and the thing about learning is that sometimes we're learning, but we kind of, we're so obsessed with being conscious and being aware, and we think that learning is this super cognitive process, and it's not always cognitive.
Ooh.
Largely we're communicating. I don't know how I'm speaking. I don't know why I'm holding my hand like this. I don't know why I'm kind of like uh, flicking my fingernail with my other hand.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm not going, I know what, this would be a great time to like do some sort of like nail care, like, and pick.
You
I
know
just,
what? Multitask.
I'm not,
Subconscious.
I'm not that together. I'm not that together. So
Yeah.
not consciously, but, and I know obviously because of what I do and what I've been doing for the last 12 years, it's, I'm very kind of at home with the concept of like a subconscious, and it is really a concept,
Mm.
as opposed to there's a real another life human being in there, but it's
No.
a useful delivery mechanism for therapy and coaching and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And have
And
you heard the theory that like 85% of thoughts are subconscious? I don't know how they get to that number, but it would make a lot of sense because it explains why we react in certain ways. And we're like, why am I stressed today? Like, I've nothing to be stressed about. Why am I so stressed? You're like, because what about the whole 85% of things that are happening that
yeah,
you aren't consciously aware of?
well, I think it's more like a black box. So it's like
Mm.
your subconscious mind is like your black box, and then your like the way of reading what's on the black box, like whether it's a screen or a tape recorder. Listen to me, I'm so old. Or I'll put it in modern terms, a CD player. No, I'm
Oof.
joking.
Is that
I'm
even
joking.
modern now?
I know.
Who is the CD players?
I'm joking. I know that I was being like, they're almost like the stuff that's released to that we can sort of process and be conscious about. So yeah, but yeah, that's definitely something that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Listen, you've kind of you've been a mental explorer
Yeah.
in a few ways, really, haven't you?
Yes, I'd say so.
And that so obviously that's learning stuff about yourself, like we all do, but you've also kind of like done some sort of exploring with other kind of sort of like things like that, haven't you?
Hmm.
Do you want to
Yeah,
talk
I'd
about
say
that?
so.
Is that allowed?
Yeah, I think so. There's so many aspects to that statement.
I'm being
So
deliberately vague.
yeah, do you mind which one I talk about
No,
in
I want you
terms
to
of
talk
mental
about.
exploration?
I want you to tell me the things that you want to tell me.
Okay. Well, I guess as you're a therapist, you'll probably appreciate some therapy chat, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
um, I was telling someone that I was on a podcast with a therapist, and they were like, "Oh, they asked the best questions. That's going to be so
I don't.
juicy."
I'm like, let's
You
talk about
do.
dogs. You know,
No,
like,
that I
yeah.
mean that is the best question, but it's like what dogs mean to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
like therapy chat is great. But yeah, I think I'm a very much like I think what's the word? Therapy advocate. I wish that everyone could have therapy.
Mm.
Um,
There's still a big
and
stigma about it. I think it's
I
getting less and
know.
less, but
I hope so. I
I
think
think,
so.
yeah, yeah, I get busier and busier as the years go
Cool.
by.
That's awesome.
But I think it's less and less so. And, you know, some people, you know, I realized that I had to take one for the team financially and also refer to myself as a life coach, even though
Oh,
I hate nearly everyone that calls himself that, because they all seem to be
oh,
absolute anyway.
that's so interesting.
But
Why did
yeah,
you have to do that?
because people search for it. So like, I want a
Oh,
life coach.
I think they're just scared of therapy. They're scared of real therapy, but
Yeah.
life coach is cool. The
So
problem with life
mm,
coaches, right?
mm,
Correct me, you know much more about this.
mm,
Very easy to get a life coach qualification. And I think a lot of people that go, am I
mm.
right?
Yeah,
A lot of people
absolutely.
that go for life coaching
Mm,
qualification, I think they're life coaching themselves. I think
mm,
they have some serious issues and
mm.
they often deal with their issues by trying to help other people
Yeah,
because they don't want to deal with their own issues.
yeah.
First-hand experience of this in several areas. So I think it's fucking dangerous that people such as the woman I'm referring to and others are able to get this life coaching qualification
Mm,
when they are a mess. And this completely resonated with me in your previous podcast
mm,
when he was talking about it. I was like, oh my God, I agree, even though
mm,
he has a lot more professional knowledge on it than me. But people that are life coaches, oh, they just sort themselves out.
mm,
They just sort themselves out. Like, it's just, no, it's that you can't, it's like you can't love yourself if you not your others if you don't love yourself. You can't help other people adequately if you haven't
mm,
worked on yourself.
mm, mm.
Um,
I mean, I think,
oh,
and I know I spoke about this with Andy, but I was fascinated I just didn't understand how some people would go on. I'll tell you a quick story,
yeah.
which is actually about a therapist, not about a life coach.
Uh-huh.
But I couldn't believe that people went on to courses because I thought you'd go on a course to learn the subject matter.
Yeah.
But in the therapy world, in the personal development, self-development, self-help kind of world, it's like this weird kind of bubble where reality is sort of suspended,
Ooh.
and people go, I need therapy, so I'm gonna go and learn a therapy technique. Well, that's not gonna
Just get therapy.
yeah, anyway, but so I remember there was one of the things I do is IEMT, integral eye movement
Mm,
therapy, which is, if you're going to watch it, it's like somebody waving their hands around like this,
yeah,
and like,
heard
you
of
know,
it.
all of a sudden they're getting over, you know, PTSD, trauma, anxiety,
So
loads of
mad.
stuff. It's amazing.
I need
It's
to research
fantastic.
this, I honestly do.
Well, we'll do some. We'll do some. It's so easy to do, and what I like about it is it's so throwaway. It's like it doesn't deserve to work. It
Oh,
doesn't deserve to
okay.
work. But it's. I mean, I've been doing it for 12 years, and you know, and you know, I mean, I was working with a female war veteran who
Wow.
had PTSD, and you know, I was
Amazing.
using that, and you know, she was like, well, that's life changing then. So
Wow.
because she'd been walking
Amazing.
around torturing herself over these memories for the last, you know, 10 years or something, and I
Uh,
really do mean really debilitating. And it's
mm,
like, you know, so
yeah.
I ask her a specific set of questions, you know, and you know, guide her eyes through certain movements, and all of a sudden she just can't feel about things the same way again. I'm just like, what?
That is
That's
crazy. And you have
ridiculous.
first-hand like people that go, oh, that can't work. This is first-hand experience of it. So
Yeah,
I don't know that attitude that this can't possibly work if you haven't tried it. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
lots of people that
absolutely,
would
yeah.
look at that and like, what's the word like? kind of spit on it, like
Yeah, it's just ignorance, isn't it? But I
yeah,
remember I was running. I was hosting Andy, and I was sort of like I used to host Andy in London, so he would come and he would teach IMT. I mean,
cool.
I sort of learned how to obviously learned IMT 12 years ago, you know, kind of thing, um and you know I'm sort of like qualified to train people and stuff like that, and you know sort of but we had this, so we were hosting him in we was hosting Annie Regent's Park or something, and there was this woman, and she was a psychotherapist, so she's like she's a clinician, you know, and she said, can we finish, is it okay if we only have half an hour lunch break, because my train is at 4 o'clock, and I, so that, because the class was due to finish at 4:30,
Okay.
so you know it's just like, and he was like, oh, you're expecting the whole class to kind of like change their plans just for you and to take half a lunch break. Anyway, so we took a vote, and you know most people are just easygoing, and they're like, yeah, okay, fine, you know, has anyone got a problem with it? And everyone's like, no, you know, we don't mind. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll only have half an hour lunch break. So we had a half an hour lunch break. So we're all back in the room half an hour later. 15 minutes after that, she rocks up. So she's kind of manipulating.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
But she was just like, she laughed it off. She thought it was, didn't think anything of it. And
No,
and I
no.
know that, you know, Andy was, I think, a bit ticked off about it. And I was like,
I bet he was.
because you're like, oh, it's kind of like, there's no respect.
Etiquette, mate.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So anyway, we were doing the exercises, and and I remember doing some of the movements with her, and she basically threatened to vomit over me,
Oh,
and
Jesus.
I
Why?
remember that, I'd spoken to Andy, and I think I've done the course a few times, so it's about holding your state, and so when somebody amplifies the signal, you don't respond to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you need to stop, because you know, and what that is that's almost like a self protection mechanism, that like it's like that the issue, whatever, doesn't want to be dealt with, so they'll go, oh, I need the
Yeah.
bathroom, or they'll
Yeah.
go, oh,
It's
hang on, or
sidestepping.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
crying, you know, will be it, and sometimes they're sort of subconscious, sometimes they're conscious, but she was like, oh, I'm going to be sick, and I was like, okay, well, we'll stop. She was, you know, and I was like, okay, fine, it's no problem, we'll stop, you know, and we'll just wait a second, then we'll continue. And anyway, so this woman, I remember sort of thinking, I'm gonna bloody lose my shit if she vomits over me. Anyway, but this,
The last straw.
so anyway, the whole thing is that,
Yeah.
yeah, there are people that go into, like, do life coaching qualifications or therapy qualifications, and the thing to remember is that, like, everyone has got their own little twisted kind of elements to their personality, and you know,
Definitely.
but again, it's that power relationship, isn't it, that we're talking about with the lecturer. Like, you kind of have got certain expectations that you expect like a therapist, or you expect a lecturer,
Yeah.
or expect a life coach to have a certain degree of behavior and how they run themselves, but clearly that isn't the
Mm.
case, you know.
Yeah, and I've heard of people having to therapize therapists when they get upset about some reaction. Like, there's
Mm.
not everyone that goes into a career is made for that career,
Oh, absolutely
but it's
not.
just scary that they can get quite far.
Yeah.
And there's people that live their whole life as liars, and it's interesting because I just had a conversation about an untherapy related human being with my friend from vet school, who she discovered through some research had basically lied her way into a lot of jobs, like, was it like consulting related jobs, so she was outraged and just telling me about it. I was like, yeah, like, I know people that are just compulsive liars, and they lie and they lie and they lie, and they build up this like layers of lies, so it
Mm.
becomes difficult to like work out what's lie and what's truth.
Yeah.
Like, and oh my god, when he was talking about narcissists, mate, oh, so fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'd done a
Yeah.
lot of research on narcissists myself for a specific reason. I was like, you were
Mm.
explaining everything I researched like really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are just lies upon lies. But why are we saying that again?
so
You're very good at
so
going back to the point. I'm not.
no, I'm terrible at that. So
You're
we were
saying about
saying,
your life coaching.
yeah,
Why you have to be called that?
yeah, and you were saying that you know, some people are, you know, that they're that they should have to sort of sort themselves out first before
And
before you
people
get
like
that.
just
But
go, let's deal with
but
themselves. And it's the hardest thing ever. Like, I understand, having done it, it's a really hard thing to deal with
mm,
yourself.
mm,
It's so much easier to deal with other people, but you can't do it properly if you
yeah,
haven't dealt with
because you're
yourself. You
inside the
can't, because
whirlwind.
you're clouded.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're like, it's like having a road, like not a rose tinted, because that implies good, but it's like having a screen over your eyes. You
yeah,
can't see details because,
yeah,
or you can't see things objectively
yeah,
because you're clouded by your own
yeah.
emotion. But actually, are you like a psychotherapist? Like, what's your therapy background? I'm
So
just interested.
so mine is it's so I studied NLP, I studied
Uh-huh.
integral eye movement therapy,
Yeah.
studied to some degree provocative therapy,
Oh, what's that?
and
Sounds cool.
which is really good, and it's not like about intimidating anyone. It's just fantastic. Frank Farrelly
Wow.
was basically the guy that came up with that. It's amazing. um and hypnotherapy and stuff like that. So a lot
Cool.
of brief therapy
Yeah.
methods
Okay,
as
nice.
opposed to classical psychotherapy.
Long drawn out
Yeah, yeah.
analytical. Yeah. Cool. I don't know why I just wanted to ask
No,
that.
it's cool. No, they're valid. But
Oh,
so we were talking about your mental explorations.
yeah. Quick, can I ask a quick question
Yeah,
before I get into that?
of course
Why
you
did
can.
Andy not like tapping? Because isn't IEMT something quite similar to that? From
No,
what you
no, it's
said and
not.
from limited knowledge.
No, no,
Okay.
it's
So
not.
it's, I just figured
Tapping.
it was like hand movement type thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. But it's about moving the eyes through a certain set of axis while you're thinking about a
Uh-huh.
certain thing, because
And
there's
tapping
a
is not.
no, tapping is about energy fields. So it's
Oh,
about, like, like sort of chakra points and all this kind of
okay.
stuff.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
like you go like that, you go like that. I think you go like that,
Hmm.
go like that. There's these,
Oh, it's
and
really interesting.
even though I was raped by a fish, I deeply accept myself, and so what he was saying is, like, it's like
A
you're
fish.
so by so by
Oh,
by
yeah.
tapping on areas that are energy points, that is going to make
Nice.
things go to
Okay.
better,
So it's
get better. But sometimes it
it's the
works,
lack of
other times I
science
think.
behind it that he doesn't like. Is there
Yeah, and
more scientific evidence for
I
the other
think
one?
I think it's partially the claims that are made by people, where you'll get some people that go. I mean, I saw something on the internet, and it was like a guy who's a big NLP trainer, and he's like, he had a video where he had this one. Yeah, so this is going to stop. This is going to stop people getting COVID-19. And there was this massive
Okay.
explosion on
All right.
Facebook about this. And it's just
Mhm.
like, when people do that, they put the work that other people are trying to do, they just discredit everyone.
Yeah,
So it
it's
takes
annoying,
one
isn't it?
it takes one
Mm,
crappy kind of like experience to
yeah.
sully like 10 experience. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So
It's
I
the
think
problem with the internet, isn't it, really?
yeah, yeah.
Word spreads like wildfire. But the reason I asked about the tapping is because I spoke to a therapist recently when I was trying to find another one, and she was like adamant on tapping. And she said there's a technique that she uses that her clients always prefer and like look back on and are most grateful for is the tapping. But
Mm.
interestingly, I really didn't like her. She made me cry like on the phone when I was talking to her.
What?
I have to explain some background to explain why, I guess.
Well, you don't
But
know.
interesting.
You don't have to. I don't want you to feel like you've got to share stuff like that that's personal, but
No,
they
I
shouldn't be
feel,
making you
I
cry
don't
on the bloody
know.
phone.
No, I know, right? It's a bad sign, isn't it? You have to have a good feeling. But I never, before that, I wasn't used to looking for my own therapist because I was on the
Mm,
NHS.
mm.
I've like made, it's difficult to know what to talk about, but I kind of made a pact with myself before that I'd just be like as open as possible with you.
Yeah, no,
So
I
I guess I
appreciate
will
that.
be, because I think a lot of the issues we have with my own personal mental illness and
Mm.
other ones is that there's such a taboo and they're so secretive, and
It's like, oh
that's
my
what
God, there's so, yeah,
perpetuates them in a way. So I'm
yeah,
trying to
100%.
I don't know if you've heard of Maya Kang, but she's like a mental health advocate, and
Okay.
my favorite phrase of hers is "be the change you want to see."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um
Nice.
so I don't know, it's obviously she's much larger scale than this tiny little podcast with my face on it, but
How rude.
it's like a good how could you
I'll show you.
international best-selling model. No, I'm joking. Look at Maya Kang, she's really cool.
Yeah.
Massively inspiring to me, and read her book. But anyway, so I kind of try and I feel like that's kind of gone into my brain, that
Mm,
phrase, because I've found that the people that inspire me
mm,
most are the ones that are most open, and
mm,
at the end of the day, like the things that have helped me most is with people being brave about their own struggles. So
100%,
you never know
100%.
what's going to
Yeah,
reach other people. So I just
yeah,
figured if I'm just honest, like it could help someone. And even if it helps one person,
it's amazing.
then it's
Yeah,
worth it. Because
sure.
what are we even, I think humans are just scared. They're just scared to of judgment, they're scared of abandonment, they're scared of loss. But
Mm,
most of the time it's just fear, and fear's not real. And if you're actually honest about yourself,
mm,
you probably get more positive feedback from people that are like
mm.
you than you'll get judgment. And if you get judgment, then they're not the right people for you anyway.
Oh yeah,
Um
100%.
so yeah, having said that, I could explain my therapy background if that helps you.
It's
Would it
up
help?
to me.
Okay.
You can say whatever you
You're
want.
so
All I'd say,
unpressuring. It's so lovely.
no, no, you talk whatever you want. The whole thing
Okay.
is a conversation. But I mean, I
I've
think
never
one
been on the
thing that I would
podcast
say
before.
is like,
Yeah.
before I go and I don't think therapists should be making people cry.
No.
Certainly, on
No.
the, but then if I've had a whole massive percentage of the clients that I've ever seen, whether it's for therapy or for any kind of coaching,
Hmm.
will tear. I don't. It's not something I will go out of my way for them to happen. It's not like a waypoint. Like, well, if they didn't cry, then the work isn't deep enough. I don't. I think that's.
Oh,
But
yeah. But I mean, I get that. It depends on the client, depends on the situation, right? But
yeah,
if you're in a 15-minute consultation to see if you're compatible and you're crying then, I think that's wrong.
unless you are
Because
maybe feeling
at that
really,
point,
if you're feeling super, super sensitive that day, but just
yeah,
like you're
nah,
not supposed to be doing the work over the phone. You're supposed to be, unless you
yeah,
were.
yeah.
I thought if it's just a consultation, it should be like, okay, right, say a bit about you, say a bit
I
about
think
me,
it's a
and
bad sign. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
bad sign
yeah,
because it means you're just not compatible on a very basic level.
yeah,
But I mean, yeah, it's been a journey because the first time I had therapy on the NHS at first, and it basically was because um, it tied into my obsession with Muay Thai. I think um, for people that end up being interested in what I'm talking about, would definitely recommend listening to the podcast that Lena was on with what's his name again? Oh God, Mood Swings.
okay,
That guy. He's got a lot of podcast episodes, and I just yesterday listened to Lena's.
okay,
She's a friend of mine, and I was like, this is awesome.
mm,
Okay, like because she's a what's it called? Sorry, sports psych.
okay,
And she was like quite instrumental to my own recovery, probably more than she realizes. But
mm,
she's very open, and she's always been very open about her own struggles within Muay Thai and how they're
mm,
related and stuff. So super admire her, and that podcast is great.
mm,
But recommend any fighters watch it. So I think as rewinding a bit, I was like, because I was quite miserable at uni and like in my personal life, I think I like so I broke up with my ex of 3.5 years, and he was my kind of grounding point. I think humans need grounding points. That was what I'd made my grounding point because I didn't feel like I had it in my family. No,
mm,
no fault of their own. It's just how things are.
sure,
So I'd always tried to find it elsewhere. And I got kind of adopted into his family. So when I like adopted, his mum like loved me. So when I broke up with him, I didn't really know what to do with myself. So it led me to kind of making quite a lot of bad decision. I had to really learn like how to stick up for myself because I hadn't had to learn that as an adult yet because I'd
mm,
had him as like a shield for 3 years. So I ended up like getting in with sort of the wrong type of people that just treat you like shit,
mm,
especially guys, and very egotistical, but also kind of like nice people. But when it comes to actually respecting women, they can't. That
right,
sort of thing. So that kind of messed me up a bit. And also, I think the degree was really intense. I didn't feel like I had a lot of my friends had moved on because I'd done a year of research out of choice to add a degree to my name, and they'd moved on and were a year above me, so were graduating before me. And so that means that I didn't actually have any friends in my year really,
right,
or very few. And it was very isolating. Where I was living was in Potter's Bar. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's in
yeah,
the butt ass
I know
end of.
about this
Oh,
part.
do you know? Do you like it? Before I insult it.
No,
It's just dead. It's just dead, isn't it? It's like nothing to do. So the only thing that I really had there was the gym and the Muay Thai. And I was living in like a quite a toxic household with a potential psychopath. I mean, I'm not good at diagnosing things, but he was a horrendous human being.
mm,
And I think I only hate one person in the world, and it's him.
oh wow,
And people have messed with me like on levels, and I don't hate them, but I hate
mm,
him because he was the reason I put my cat down, long story short, but he's a
Mm.
very manipulative individual.
Right.
So I had that sort of environment, and I didn't feel like I fit in at uni because the team I was in, they were all extremely farm oriented. They're nice people on their own, you know, but they grew up on dairy farms, had a beef herd, would go to their boyfriend's farm on the weekend to herd sheep and stuff. So couldn't relate to them, and then you spend your whole 2 years with this group of people that you can't relate to, and makes you feel very isolated. And because
Yeah.
I was so obsessed and I was fighting at the time, so I was like on farm placement. I would run at like 5 a.m. in this like in the middle of nowhere in the fog, just to try and cut like down to the weight I should be at. It was like not a cut the week before. It's like in a month's time you have a fight, you need to cut a few kilos. Like it
Yeah.
was what should have been sensible, but it was just hard in the situation that I was in the middle of nowhere, kind of with no mates around, away from my gym, which was my
Very
kind
isolated.
of, yeah. So I was just really miserable, and just trying to get over the things that I'd allowed in my life and like the people that I'd allowed in my life that upset me, and I just felt very sort of on my own. So I just channeled everything into Muay Thai, and it brought out a lot of, it's not Muay Thai's fault, and it's absolutely no one's fault, but it catalyzed, like when I started Muay Thai, it really catalyzed eating disorders in me, because
Okay.
I think I'd had that tendency when I was with my ex, and that's when my carb phobia started. Like for 3 years I kind of tried to avoid carbs because that's what he
Right.
did. Yeah,
Okay.
very sensible. But I just grew this fear of foods, and I'd also been like taught it from a young age in
Okay.
many aspects, which I think the people that taught it to me wouldn't be aware enough to be
Sure.
aware that they did that, but
Mm.
they did. And I've learned that a lot through therapy, that I need to stop like completely blaming myself for everything
Mm.
and attribute it to things that happened to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like I know people are worse off than me, but it's not really that. It's how you react to certain things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm not trying to be an ungrateful person, and that's one of my paranoias that I am, but I'm really trying not to be.
You don't strike me as that.
Hopefully not. I'm glad. But yeah, so I think because the Muay Thai was making me so intense and I was putting all my energy into that, and I was already prone to having a really bad relationship with food, and it's a sort of sport it's very normalized.
Yeah. Oh,
And you
yeah, big
can't,
time.
it's very hard to tell the difference between someone that's cutting weight for a fight and someone that's self-sabotaging. And
Yeah.
from a coach's point of view, you have to be very, very experienced in that specific area to know the difference. And I would never expect a coach to be able to see that. So I think some people might be like, oh, why didn't your coaches see this? Like they couldn't have.
No.
People with eating disorders are so secretive. Like we're masters of disguise.
Mm.
There's no way that they could have known. I'm grateful for everything they gave me. So it's very much you're in your own head. You're very much self-sabotaging yourself, and you keep it from everyone. So I was doing that for several years. I was like a bulimic in denial, I think.
Right.
And I eventually just knew that I was just like losing my shit. I think one of the catalyst points was I was in the car park for the hospital that I was working at, obviously not like a human hospital, but the animal hospital, and I had, I think, an evening shift where you go in and walk the dogs and let them shit and then put them back. So you spend your whole day there, and then you have to go back in the evenings to do things that people with paid jobs should do.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, but it's just how being a vet student works.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the car park and just like in my car, and I was just like crying my eyes out. I was like, don't want to go in there, don't want to go in there,
Oh,
can't
wow.
do it. And I think there's so much going on in your head at that point. I was like, I'm really broken, and I like don't know what I'm gonna do about it. And so I eventually told my training partner. He's like my most massive inspiration probably in my life. The ones from both my female training partners are, to be honest, they're like incredible women. But I met my training partner from Diablo before I met my other training partner. So this is the one I confided in, and she just knows everything. So she was like, yeah, I know, but you had to tell me yourself. You have to meet people where they're at, and you weren't ready for that yet.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so she's so wise. So she basically pointed me towards the self-referral service. And so then I did that. It's in Hertfordshire, like HP, I can't remember what it's called, but on the NHS. So they made me see a psych who was like, oh my God, this psych, I couldn't even stand her. Honestly, I didn't know why at the time, but she made me like feel so like physically unwell. Like she was so grating. She was so clinical and patronizing, and just, I had never had any experience of any therapy environments. And the first person I saw was a psychiatrist. And it was horrendous. She just instantly was like antidepressants, but for
Medicate
various
you, yeah.
reasons. Yeah, but I'm like, was quite scared of them and
mm,
didn't very resistant to the idea of
mhm,
them for quite a
mhm,
lot of reasons.
mhm.
Whether they're right, I don't not saying that they're right reasons, or whether I
Yeah.
maybe things would have been very different if I just accepted to go on them, but I didn't,
Mm,
for better or for worse. And I just asked if I could try therapy first. And interestingly, I spoke to my new therapist I found recently yesterday about this, and she said,
mm,
the reason why she made you feel like that is probably because she felt like that, and you just pick up on everyone's emotions, so you felt awkward because she felt awkward because she didn't know how to deal with you.
mm,
She said a lot of psychiatrists go into the field and they don't know how to deal with A, their own emotion, or B, other
mm,
people's emotions. She said she's seen a lot of psychiatrists have breakdowns, because they know medical stuff but they don't understand people,
mm,
so
mm. Yeah, yeah,
they
sure.
can't
Yeah,
handle it because they see a
yeah,
lot of patients with mental illness and they don't know how to deal with it. So I
yeah,
think maybe she fell into that category. It like took a lot of onus off me that she was like, oh, it's not your fault. I was like, oh, okay,
yeah,
maybe it was her, not
yeah.
me. Like,
Well, I
I was
think
just a wreck.
there's something to be said for, um, and it's definitely almost like a frame that I'll certainly use with clients is to take as much responsibility as they can for their own life, but there are definitely factors that fall outside the scope of that, and it would be
Yeah,
stupid to say, if somebody had experienced some sort of abuse, that, oh, it was because I was wearing my red shorts or something like that, where that's why it happened, or was because,
yeah. There's
so it's about,
responsibility and then there's
yeah,
responsibility.
there's about responsibility,
Yeah.
and there's about, that there's things that you actually that are inflicted upon you, and I think
Mm,
that it's good, it's healthy to take as much responsibility as you
yeah.
can, and is appropriate, but then know that there are other things that, that we don't control the world, and there are other external factors that can affect us, and
Mhm.
yeah, and so we
Yeah,
absolutely,
that's
we
interesting.
shouldn't blame ourselves for that,
Yeah, I
but
was
that's
very much on the spectrum of everything's my fault. So maybe some other
mm,
people would be in denial of their faults. I'm like I was the opposite, so I had to kind of
mm,
unlearn being so mean to myself because it
mm,
was like destroying me, kind of. Um,
mm,
there's loads of reasons why you become like that, and I've learned some of them as well. So
mm,
it's really cause and effects, really fascinating.
mm,
But long story short, I ended up going for CBT. Didn't take the meds that she wanted me to take, mainly because I didn't feel like supported. I feel like if you're gonna take antidepressants that you're already scared of, you have to feel like you have some sort of support. And I
mm,
hated the psych. Like
mm,
honestly, I thought she was horrible, and I didn't really have a regular GP. Like that service was so
mm.
like over run with too many people that they didn't really
Yeah.
have time for you anyway. So I don't know. I did like a heart scan for them and I just didn't do the bloods in the end because I was like, I don't want to take these. So I didn't.
Mm,
But I did CBT, and CBT, another thing I could relate to from what Lena was saying in her podcast the other day was that CBT is very much action. It's like do this
mm,
and don't
mm,
do this.
mm,
It's very, very surface level,
mm,
and it didn't work. It just didn't work. Like
mm,
I learned
mm,
quite a lot about mindfulness that I didn't know, and
mm,
but this therapist, she was just out of her depth. She did not know how to
mm,
deal with me. There was
mm,
just way too much going on, and she was like, "How about you just
mm,
like eat everything and don't worry?" And I'm like, "But I can't compete if I'm heavy, so
mm, mm,
I know that I'm annoying you and I
mm,
feel like I'm really pissing you off even though I wasn't because
mm,
it's her job, but
mm,
this is what my brain says. It goes, oh my god, you're such a burden. Why are you like taking advantage of this therapist and not listening to her when you're lucky enough to get her and other people don't get her, and
mm,
blah blah blah. But I just couldn't do both. Like it was impossible to take up CBT method when you're trying to keep your weight down.
mm.
So you can't
I mean,
completely
CBT
recover from an eating disorder.
it's certainly got its place, but
Yeah.
to think that you can cognate your way out of everything is just
Mm.
ridiculous.
And I could see this as well. I was like, yes, I know that if I completely gave up fighting, which is the only thing keeping me going right now, so
Yeah.
that's not happening, then I'd be able to get over this eating disorder because what I've had for years,
Mm,
and actually stop hating my body and
mm,
stop putting so much emphasis on how I look and feeling like I have no other value if I'm not a certain weight, which has been perpetuated by the sport I'm in.
mm,
Then yeah, sure, I'd be able to get over it, but I can't do that right now. So we need to like take this from a different angle. We need to like address why I'm feeling like this in the first place. But she couldn't do that because she was only trained in CBT.
mm,
And she could also see like it was this weird dynamic where I was like this absolute wreck, but I was also quite aware of what was going on. I
mm,
would like cry most sessions because she'd try and get to the bottom of like why I let people mentally use me and abuse me and stuff. And
Mm.
I was like, I don't know, I can't see the patterns. And I just this crying mess of like,
Mm.
why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah.
So I couldn't, like, you needed to get to the root of that, and she could not do it. So basically she realized this, and from one week to the next she was like discharged. She was like, I can't deal with you, but in the nicest way. She was like, I just want, it's not your fault, but this isn't right for you, and I don't want you to lose faith in therapy, so I'm not going to therapize you anymore.
Yeah.
And I got it, but at the same time I was like, everyone has abandoned me. I have this complex that I'm abandoned by people for various valid reasons, and now a professional's done it also.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a very low point. And then what she was supposed to do, which I found out later, she was supposed to like transfer me to someone else, but she didn't, because she didn't understand the system. So she just, because she was quite new to that, wherever NHS area, whatever, she just left me. They didn't tell me that I still had a psychiatrist. I thought they'd all just like ditched me, and I was there like in this ocean, like fuck, I've got all this stuff that they've just told me about myself, and like unravel this shit, but they haven't taught me how to deal with it. What am I gonna do? So obviously I just got worse, and like was like self-harming and like horrendous relationship with food. Like I wouldn't eat for 3 days, and then then obviously my body would rebound. So like it was just a complete mess. I lost complete track of any like being able to listen to myself, because I just hated everything. And then eventually I got this random call from the psych, like, hello, I just wanted to catch up. And I'm like, are you sorry, you still my doctor? Like, what's going on here? Apparently she is still my doctor. And so I was like, this is not cool. And I ended up just talking to my training partner about it, and then she agreed that it was like ridiculously neglectful. And then I organized a meeting between her and the head of the service to be like, you can't treat your patients like this, what are you going to do about it? Because like, I'm not okay, you can't, this could have gone a lot worse, because you're dealing with people that are very vulnerable and like in a very bad state. You can't be half treating them and leaving them.
No, that's you're better off not doing anything, probably.
Yeah, but I know, but I've not started. I think it's actually genuinely quite dangerous, because there were quite a few times where I was in such a state in my brain that I remember having an argument with my brother, because I was living really far away from Diablo at this point, because it's like North London and my parents' house is South London. So when I was living there, had an argument with him because I needed to take the car to training, and he's like, you don't actually need to take it. And I was like, I do, because I can't take the tube because I'm going to jump. Like, it's too tempting. But I didn't tell him that, obviously. But I was just like, I can't trust myself, so just let me drive. So I kind of got to that point, and you shouldn't be leaving patients like that. That telling you, like, I told her I had suicidal thoughts, and she just still like left me there. I don't know, it's bad. I'm grateful for the NHS, but also they're so overrun that things like this happen.
It's difficult.
Yeah, but then because of that meeting I engineered, they then gave me this other therapist. I think she had like a ridiculous waiting list, because she's a senior consulting blah 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 psychologist, but she does CAT, which I'd never heard of, so cognitive analytic therapy. So I went to psychotherapy from behavioral therapy. Completely different. Didn't even address food really, because it's never about the food anyway. It's about underlying things, which is why CBT didn't work. I don't know if anyone else has had CAT. If anyone listens to this and they've had CAT, like, can they just contact one of us? Because I've never met a single other person that's had it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, have you?
No, I haven't heard of it.
I don't think you had when I told you about it. It's really weird. I think it was made for the NHS, so it's like this specific type of psychotherapy that's specifically NHS designed.
Okay.
But it's I'm sure there are very other similar ones. It's like going back into your childhood and like, why do you feel this way? Where do your issues come from? So like, what CBT scratches the surface, this like goes back to your like mum's childhood, and like it's like so heavy and it's really hard to deal with.
It's whether it's effective or not,
Yeah,
that's
I think it was. I think it really was. It's a shame that I didn't get on with the therapist, because she told me a lot of very useful things, but she was very difficult. Like, she was so German, and so and when I say that, not in a racist way, but so harsh, like very bad bedside manner. And I think I kind of needed some softness at that point in my life. But also she kind of like whacked some sense into me, I guess, in some ways. There's someone in the park, like walking down the path doing teeps in a very odd way without their arms.
This is the bit where you run and say, hey, hi.
Oh, bizarre.
Is that Muay
Very
Thai you're doing?
strange. No, it's not, because he's like lifting his foot up. He doesn't do that kick. He's like,
Yeah. Oh, he's just
it's
swinging
really
his legs.
weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
Maybe
bizarre. Oh no,
that's
back
the
kick, spinning back kick. Oh,
oh really?
beautiful. Maybe it was an axie he was trying to, yeah, now he's doing some like taekwondo shit. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, I just had to share that because it's hilarious what you
No,
see out
that's
this
amazing.
window.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone has COT, tell me, because I'd love to know.
Mm.
It was deep, and it's just really hard. I think it was just too much to deal with. It kind of makes you worse before it gets better. The
Mm.
analogy she used was, it's like you have this pond, and to get to, there's like shit in the pond, so the pond's kind of dirty, but you have to
Mm.
get the shitty things out the pond. To do that, you have to rummage around in the dirt in the bottom of the pond, pick out all the
Okay.
shit, and get rid of it. But
Okay.
while you do that, the water's going to become even more muddy. So you're like, fuck, I'm drowning, I
Okay.
can't swim. That's what it felt like.
Okay.
If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, no, yeah, it does make sense. And again, look, I mean, I think that I've got friends that have done counselling, and that have been through counselling, as a client, and they've got a lot out of it. And but there are elements of the counselling model that I don't think are useful, and but it depends on the scenario, and it depends on the person, because not everyone is going to like my kind of work, and I'm okay with that. I need to work with people and that's part of the consultation process, is finding people that are gonna mesh with you, and that are gonna get something.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
if you've got a Lexus and you take your car to a smart car garage. Sorry,
Smart car, out of all the ones you could have thought
I
of.
know, so pathetic, I'm so unmanly.
Let me.
It's like, well, you're not going to get the best kind of,
No.
it's okay, they're all cars, but so it's like horses for courses. It's about
Yeah.
how it affects you.
Yes.
It can be difficult. The processes can be difficult to go through. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big takeaways that you've clearly understood is that actually it takes graft, and it takes work, and it takes consistency to get to where you want to be. And that could be going from bad to normal, or normal to good.
Yeah, it's a long process.
But yeah, it can be. But and there are some people. It's just like martial arts. Some people like taekwondo, and you and I might think. But there are some really good taekwondo, like the original, like old school taekwondo is legit, is fantastic. But then, it's watered down, and some people, used to sort of like snigger about people doing judo. Like if you've ever been thrown by somebody that knows judo, it's horrible.
Yeah, painful.
I got thrown by a guy once. I was doing some extra training in judo, and he threw me, and I remember thinking that I was dead. I mean, he threw me my
Please don't
whole.
die.
I mean, I'm a big lump. My is it the thorax? The rib cage. Is that the thorax?
Yeah.
It was. I just like, the whole thing sort of went. I flexed. I was like,
Whoa.
oh God, and I was just thinking,
Sounds horrendous.
I think I might be going into the nether realm now. I think
Yeah.
I'm dying, because it's just like, it's such a I mean, it's like, if you threw somebody using judo on the ground, it would mess them up. It would mess them up so badly. But anyway, so it's horses for courses, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Some
is.
people want.
And unfortunately, on the NHS, you don't get to choose your therapist. So
Yeah.
there can be probably a barrier to how much you can progress or improve, because you don't trust this person. And it's also very difficult to get someone that understands competitive sports and the mindset, that sports psychology mindset, because they have a very fixed way of fixing eating disorders, which is just eat everything and don't be scared of anything. And it's like that's very like I'm
That's
not
sort of
explaining that well.
it's rigid
but
in its own way. I mean,
yeah, it is. I'm not
theoretically it's
explaining
very
it.
freeing, but it's like well, yeah,
Yeah.
but if you've got this other element component to your life that requires you to manage your weight, it's about it's like a Venn diagram. It's like there's no overlap there, and there
Yeah.
needs to be that overlap where
Yeah, it does, but it's like an impossible Venn diagram, really, because you can't fully recover from it. Like, I've made the most progress in actually recovering from it since being forced to not do Muay Thai by COVID. So,
Mm.
and then I'm actually scared of what's going to happen when I go back to it, because I'm like, one, I'm too heavy to fight, and you have to put on weight to be able to restore your brain chemistry to be normal again and to understand how to eat. Because I worked with a nutritionist as well, and she had to, like, I did know what normal eating was, but I couldn't tell what my hunger signals were anymore, because I'd go from like eating what, when I cut for the UKMF Open fight, I was on like 800 calories a day, exercising twice a day on placement. Like, that messes with you. And I put that on myself. That was me deciding that I wanted to take that fight, because otherwise I couldn't fight. So I was like, I'd rather cut 3 kilos and then not fight. And that was entirely my choice, and no one forced me into that. But like, when you're that obsessed with the sport, you'll do it. And when you don't respect yourself, like I didn't really, you'll also do that. But then your body stops being able to do the cuts anymore because it rebounds. So my fight weight just went up, because around all the messing I was doing, my body was retaliating and not allowing me to go down to that. Like, I was shredded, and I really miss looking like that. But I don't know, like, can I get to that weight again healthily? I don't know. Like, I don't know, because I haven't tried it healthily. But
well, I think it's just a case of exploring and trying different things, and
allowing yourself time, I think.
And something I say to people is that, look, treat yourself like a project, like a sandbox. That it's not like, because we're all looking for, like the grand universal theory. Andy talks about this. I know that, when you do it, it's like people are looking for the answer. There are a million answers. You just have to find an answer that works for you in that particular context, in that particular time frame. And it might not always be the answer, but if it's the answer in that particular time, and it's the way, it's a way of thinking that it's more of an attitude where you're like, well, I'm going to try this, and if it doesn't work, then I learned that that's not the way to do it, and I can try something else.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you try and, I think I had this plan that I just wanted, I like couldn't exist without fighting. Like, it had become my modus operandi. So I was so scared that anything I did would stop me from doing that. And it's kind of, you might think it sounds disproportionate, because like I'm not pro or anything. So you might be like, why are you so obsessed with it? But when you have, when you've made that your life, and you are lacking in other areas of your life, and you've substituted those lacks with Muay Thai, it was like a huge deal for me. So I was like resistant to a lot of the areas of treatment, because I was like, I can't not fight. Like, I just don't. I put so much of my life into this. I don't think I know anyone that's made such efforts outside of the situations they're dealt with to still train. Like, normal vet students don't keep up with hobbies, mate. And they don't have lifestyles like I do. I couldn't give it up, because I'd put so much into it. Like, it just seemed like I can't do that, so I'm just going to have to not fully recover and try and deal with the other things that are making me feel like that, and just accept that I'm going to have a messed up relationship with food for a while, as long as I keep doing this sport. And I did in gymnastics too, because they always told us randomly that we were really fat for no reason.
Really?
So yeah, like, we had the Suno coach I mentioned. She just randomly weigh us. We didn't matter what we weighed. We were kids, didn't matter. Especially because we were doing the lifting, and she'd randomly just put us on the scale. Go, you put on a lot of weight. She didn't even remember what we weighed. She'd be like, you need to just eat Ryvita and bananas,
God,
to make your stuff lighter. Like,
that's so bad.
So bad, isn't it? It's awful, like, cultivating that mindset. But it's a mindset that's in a lot of competitive weight dependent sports, even if it's not weight dependent. Sometimes, like, runners, I think thin bodies are praised in running. I know I have a friend that suffered from really bad anorexia, and she's a really good runner, and that really affected her, because like the ideal like runner shape is really skinny, and if you have a lot of muscle, then you just feel inadequate. So there's a lot of onus on what you look like and how heavy you are, and you just identify yourself by this number, and then it perpetuates loads of things. It's really difficult to navigate, but there's a lot of stuff you can deal with around it too.
There's the good thing about being big when you're running is when you're running downhill, you don't pick up some momentum. But the only trouble is, I have to, when I do my long run on a Sunday, and I have to really start huffing and puffing and making noise that are basically telling people that are in front of me, you need to get out of my way, because I literally cannot stop. And if I go, I'm taking all of you lot with me. And I've said that to people before. I've said that. I said, I said, I said, like, if I go, I'm going to end up taking you with me. So you need to get out of my way. I had this thing where I went skiing, and like, I've only been skiing once, and you got the snow plow, so you're going like that, and that's like how you stop. So
Wow.
I was doing the snow plow, but I built up so much momentum. I'm such a lump, and like even the snow plow was like the edges of the skis were starting to
It's a very
turn.
inefficient way to stop in skiing,
Very well.
Snowplows, that's what I teach children because they're light and they can stop with snowplow. When you're a heavy ass adult, you
I
need
was
to like
about 40,
turn your
so
skis. You
um,
turn your skis and stop sideways, but it's really hard to learn that.
but so I'm like snow plowing down this mountain in the Dolomites, and I'm like, my thighs are like quivering, and I'm like really
You can
trying
feel
to,
it.
it's like they're turning red on the sides.
Oh,
It's like, and like I can see like I'm heading towards like a children's
oh
class
no.
and I'm like, get out of the way. In the end, I sort of like stack
Slow
myself
mo.
into like a big lump of snow. But anyway, but yeah, so yeah, no,
It's hilarious.
it's weird, isn't it? Running is and I know that who was telling me? Someone was telling me that climbers are like obsessed with like they're obsessed with not walking anywhere or not
Oh,
doing
because they don't
anything.
want to get heavy legs,
They don't know. They don't want to.
possibly.
So they don't want to build muscle or something like that. They want to
Well, on their
keep.
legs, yeah, because that makes it so much harder to climb.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're
Um.
like lifting all their body weight and there's no weight in their legs, but they've got these intense, like stacked arms,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
functional.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense. But imagine how
Yeah.
much that must mess with you though, if you're naturally heavy legged like I am. Like I've
Yeah.
always had these like thunder ass thighs,
That's me.
even when I was like pretty much 10, however many percent body fat, like when you
Mm,
could literally see my abs under my clothes
mm,
when I was 60.
mm,
I still had chunky legs, and that some
mm,
people are just built with chunky legs. I can't get skinny
mm,
legs. I think it's from being a
mm.
gymnast.
That
But
means you've got
imagine
a
being a
good
climber and
base
like
thing. Yeah,
trying
it'd
to.
be awful.
I feel for
Yeah.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't
So
avoid that.
so yeah, so you were talking about your explorations and stuff like that. And that you tried different things and you'd explore different things. Like, do you want to talk about that, or you don't have
Um,
to?
I would really like to talk about it.
Go on then.
I'll talk about this podcast, which I've learned a lot about, and it ties into a lot of the therapy
Yeah.
aspect of what we've been talking about. Because in America, they
America.
have. Well, you mentioned PTSD.
Hmm.
Um, they actually treat PTSD with trials in America with MDMA. I found
Mm,
that so interesting because I know a few people with PTSD, so I've seen like secondhand, I guess, but it's still quite
mm,
harrowing to hear about it. The immense effect it has on your life.
mm,
So I don't know, I found this podcast by chance, and turns out that a lot of substances that are here illegal are there used to put you in a sort of a state of mind
mm.
where you can be more receptive of certain therapies. So they have psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, and it's super interesting. All
Yeah.
these trials for MDMA, and it's cured veterans of like 10 plus years PTSD trauma.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Mm.
Have you heard about the MDMA stuff?
I've seen Madman. Yeah, so I heard about some initial trials and also saw I don't know what the guy's name was on Joe Rogan, and they've started to do studies with DMT and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
they're trying to map the DMT world, the
yes.
DMT realm. They've called it.
Interesting.
Oh,
How the
oh
hell
my
do you
god.
map that?
I know I think it's
Fascinating though.
ridiculous, but it sounds awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
Um,
And do you know that ketamine's legal there for psychedelic assisted psychotherapy?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they treat, I think it's depression patients with ketamine assisted therapy.
My
So
God.
I've just been learning in a scientific context about all of this, and it's
Yeah.
just so
Mm.
interesting. Um,
Because isn't
and
that's for horses, isn't it, Ket?
that people think that, but it's also for cats and dogs, mainly
What's
cats,
its
I think.
purpose? Is it?
Oh, this is where I should know better
Mm.
because of being a vet student, but it's definitely paralysis,
Okay.
and I think it stops you feeling as much, but it works different in animals and humans, so I'm pretty sure
Right.
it's part of an anesthetic protocol that you can use for
Okay.
dogs. I think dogs, but definitely cats.
Okay.
But it sometimes makes them go really crazy, I think.
Okay.
I need to revise my anesthesia, but it's like paralysis
Mm.
related and definitely nerve
Mm.
related, so you can't feel as much, I think,
Mm.
rather than actually putting you to sleep, I think.
Okay.
Probably also an element of tranquilizer in there, but don't quote me. But yeah, different in humans, I think.
Mm.
But so kind of sometimes I wish I lived in America because I would love to try that stuff, and I've
Mm.
learned so much about it. in the podcast, and they like, and how sort of things like ayahuasca
Yeah.
ceremonies, and you can legally go to other countries and do that. So I'm 100% doing that
Yeah.
um,
Really.
at some point, because that's not an illegal thing to do if you do it in
Yeah.
another country. It's
Yeah.
like if you go to Amsterdam and you do shrooms, that's legal. So
Yeah.
because it's relative to the country you're in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No, for sure.
And yeah, and I'm not afraid to say that, and I'm immensely a believer in the potential therapeutic effects of
Mm.
substances like that.
Mm.
And I think it's a huge shame that they're criminalized, and they're probably criminalized for the wrong reasons,
Mm.
especially in the history of them. I think they were started to treat mental health conditions, and it
Mm.
was, I can't remember do you remember the nationality of the couple that had the lab that was shut down? It might have
No.
been not Dutch. Oh, I should know. I can't remember. I've done like quite a lot of research in quite a short amount of time, so I've forgotten. Um, but the reason they were originally developed was to help people with mental health conditions, but they went
Right.
underground, like they were adopted by the rave scene in America. So then it started this war on drugs where they banned them all.
Right.
But it's a huge shame because it stopped a lot of research from
Mm.
happening that could have helped, as the PTSD trials are now helping so many veterans,
Mm.
that we like halted that because they went into the underground scene, which kind of happens
Mm.
with all substances anyway. And I just sometimes think if alcohol is legal, why aren't other things
Yeah.
legal? And there's a
Because
lot to
alcohol
it,
can
and
make
it's
you
not
do
always
some really weird
logical.
stuff. You know,
Huh?
alcohol can make you do
Yeah,
some really
exactly.
awful things. You know.
You can kill people a lot easier than a lot of other things can.
Yeah.
It's like it's a lot harder to die from overdosing, say marijuana, which I'm
Mm.
not a personal fan of, but
Mm.
than it is to die of alcohol poisoning. It's much
Mm.
easier, and it
Mm.
happens a lot more. So a lot of things are political and they're not logical, really.
Mm.
But yeah, fascinated by that sort of stuff. And interestingly, because it's just an area of interest of mine, like how it works and how these
Mm.
things affect the brain, how they help people, where they're used for trials and otherwise. The therapist I've got now, I spent a lot of time trying to find her,
Mm.
because it was difficult looking for one. The one I said that made me cry was another one that I talked to, had a preliminary chat with,
Mm.
and she was so like, oh, so grating, mate. She just like
Mm.
talked at me and like didn't even ask me any questions. But
Right.
you can't know if you're compatible with your patient if you don't ask
Yeah,
questions.
it's an exchange,
Um,
isn't it?
yeah, very bizarre. I was like, this is what I do. This is what I do, and I was like, okay. And so she asked me a few questions having said that, but her initial like immediate was, yeah, you can't do martial arts. Like you need to stop competing in a weight dependent sport. And I was like, I know, but like this isn't helping. What I'm trying to say is that I could be working on a lot of other things. There's a lot of issues with like paranoia and my like deep set abandonment issues and stuff that I wouldn't have believed before I had therapy that I could possibly have, but apparently
Yeah.
I do. But anyway, and there's a lot of things I could be dealing with, and I need to be able to talk through with a professional that
Right.
doesn't involve Muay Thai right now, because there's no Muay Thai going on, so I can work on all these other things
Yeah. Yeah.
now that I have this insurance to do it with. But she was like, no, very black and white.
Mm.
Whereas the one I've got now, I've had one session with her, and she's amazing.
Mm.
She's like, she's trained in eating disorders, in competitive sports, in depression, and also has like an interest in psychedelics, and she's done a lot of
Mm.
training on them, which is a
Brilliant.
lot of training that goes on. You can't legally, in this country, do psychedelic assisted psychotherapy. It's highly
Mm.
illegal and no one does it.
Mm.
Also in America, other than with ketamine, but you can still educate yourself, and you
Mm.
can be of help to people who have had psychedelic experiences. For example, in another country, say someone has gone to Peru to do ayahuasca, and has come back and needs to process it. There are therapists in this country who are known to have knowledge in that area, so people will come to them specifically for integration work after their
Right.
experiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's fascinating. So even though stuff isn't legal here, they can still help people that have had experiences there elsewhere,
Yeah.
or here, however they
That's
choose to
yeah.
do it. But because it's such an area of interest of mine, and how like even just scientifically, if nothing else,
Mm.
I was I just like out of curiosity. In fact, I asked on, because of the psychedelic psychotherapy podcast, which is fascinating, and they have so many psychotherapists from
Mm.
America on it. They have a Facebook group just so people can talk about it, and it's mainly aimed at professionals, not at people like me, but I'm just like a nerd, so joined in. And they have a Facebook group, so I just out of interest asked. I was like, I know it's not legal here and stuff, but does anyone know of any practitioners in the UK that
Mm.
understand?
Mm.
Because what it is a headspace.
Mm.
Even if it's not really a done thing here and we have very limited
Mm.
trials and stuff,
Mm.
when you research and when you understand, you think in a different way.
Hmm.
And it's very hard to explain that. That sounds so airy fairy, but like when you know, and people will know, understand what I
Yeah,
mean. But so I just asked, anyone know anyone in the UK that understands this
yeah,
sort of thing, that can relate, because we can't do it. People train, like, how does it work? And they sent me this list of like
amazing.
so many people. I was like, oh my god! And I managed to find one that like understood that kind of mindset, but also has the experience I need in other areas.
Yeah,
And she's
fantastic.
so cool. And like I had a 15-minute chat with her as like one of the free ones that they do to
Yeah,
test
yeah, yeah,
that you're compatible. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, I want you now.
Oh
Like I've
wow,
never
brilliant.
been
Oh, that's really good.
excited by a therapist
Yeah,
before. I've always been like, oh my god, they make me so uncomfortable. Like
yeah,
I know I need to do this work, but it's really hard.
yeah.
And I like left that call like buzzing. I was like, oh my god, I really love
Oh, that's
her. She's
really good.
amazing.
Yeah,
And we had our first session like the day after. She said, you're really refreshing. You like, I said, sorry if I'm too keen. She goes, no, you're like so refreshing. And normally people are so reluctant to
yeah,
work because
yeah,
they know they have to, but they're reluctant. I was like, no, I've been through this shit before. You know, but like I know a good therapist now because I've had ones that don't gel with me.
yeah. No,
So I'm
that's
happy.
it's really good, and I think it's
Mhm.
good to go in with it with that mindset of like, let's do something, let's get something done, rather than
Mm.
because then you're being active in the process as opposed to do the therapy to me, which is
Yes, 100%.
and I think that like the whole thing of therapizing, that's it's a misnomer really, because
Yeah.
actually it's a dance and it's an exchange, but
Understand.
it's still quite an interesting
Yeah.
it's still a fun little phrase to like, let me put my therapy on you or whatever. That's weird.
Therapize you all. No,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
has
yeah,
to be like a discussion.
yeah.
But like super interestingly, having said that there's not much in the UK because we're just very traditional Western medicine. We're like SSRIs for depression. That's pretty
Mm,
much all there is, I think.
mm,
But there are trials, like I said.
mm,
I think there's been psilocybin trials from Imperial, so
mm.
I'm aware of that for
Yeah.
depression that's happened. And so there's this slow decriminalization process
Mm.
underway in this country. And there's a DMT trial for depression.
Yeah.
Signed up months ago, just found out because I was researching like a nerd
Mm,
from the podcast. I was like, oh, what trials are there in the UK? I would love to
mm,
try this because I'm so scared of SSRIs.
mm.
And found a lot of trials on like londontrials.com, and one of them was DMT for depression. And I was like, cool, signing up. I had nothing, so I forgot about it. And
Yeah.
like on the same day that I had my first therapy session with the new therapist, I got the email back like, hello, we'd like
Oh
to
wow.
schedule a call with you to assess
Oh
your
wow.
eligibility for it. So how cool would that be if I got
Well,
to participate
yeah.
in a clinical trial for that? Something
Yeah.
like actually totally believe could work better than traditional medicine. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
excited.
I
So
mean,
I'll at
and
some point get that call.
it shows that you're like an explorer, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I wanted to talk to you about your art, because that's something
Hmm.
that I know. You seem to be able to express yourself quite a lot through art. It seems to be, from what I've seen, primarily of animals, from what I've seen, but I'm sure there is other
Yeah.
stuff that you've done.
Yeah.
Like, just tell us a little bit about that, about what
Mm.
art is to you, what it,
Yeah.
what you like about
Hmm.
it, I guess.
Yeah, it's always been like I think art was probably my one true love in this life. Like from when I was a kid, I'd be that super irritating child that went for like a sleepover at her friend's house and would wake them up at 7 in the morning. I remember doing this and be like, "Where's your paper? Can I have some pencils?" Like I just wanted to draw all at the time. So I should have followed that from a young age, but I was always told that you can't make money from art, so I didn't do it. Maybe it's probably had its advantages because you can get to it another way. And if
Mm,
I'd pursued just art, I wouldn't have had other qualifications that I have
mm,
now.
mhm,
Um, so I'm working towards this place where I
mm,
can be a vet, but also not full time, so I can
mm.
pursue the art. It's a long
You're
process, and I
selling your
have to get.
stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, but it's
Mm.
just not reliable yet, if that makes
How
sense.
can we find your, is it an Etsy you've got? Or?
I've just set up my Etsy, so I mainly just do it through Instagram. I've not got much on the Etsy at the moment because I do by commission at the moment. So I'll just explain how it happened. So I'd always kind of just done art whenever I could, but didn't really have time for it. And then this is why I'm actually mad grateful for Corona, which sounds silly because how can you be grateful for a pandemic? But I just have to talk about Emma Can because he's
Okay.
the most amazing person ever. I'm wearing his t-shirt right now, which as you can see, I just had to, because the only reason I wore this was to make him smile,
Okay.
because I knew that if he saw that I was wearing it, he'd be happy. So in lockdown, I think it was one or two, two actually. Singdate, the gym, one of the gyms I train at, they started doing outdoor training with Damien Animos. So obviously I went because I'm like his biggest fan ever, and I've watched all his fights about 20 times, and I love his coaching. So I was like, yes, we can still do Muay Thai outside, because it was legal in groups of 6 at that time. Now it's changed, so now we can do it. But at the time it was legal to do 6 outdoor activities groups, and we had only 6 at a time and stuff like that. So we were doing distance training, and it was in Holland Park. I live in Finsbury Park. It takes an hour to get there. Don't care. So I would travel across London. I'd come out of Holland Park and then go to the park. I'd been buying Notorious Fight Gears kit for like quite a few years, because I love supporting small businesses, and I thought he was a cool guy. So I had his big ass bag that I've told so many people about, and they're all like, oh my god, your bag's amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's like the best bag ever. So he calls me the Notorious Bag Lady, which is fun because I wear it everywhere, and it's the only bag that fits all my kit in it. So I was wearing that, and Amma, who is the Leapfrog Combat TV guy. Do you know Leapfrog Combat Sports?
Nope.
Yeah, seen the account? Oh, it's like he's got like 50 something K followers.
Okay.
He was always his aim was always just to promote up and coming fighters. So he's just a martial arts fan, like a Muay Thai fan himself, that trained a bit. And I think it was when he was injured and he couldn't train, he started filming other people at fights and stuff, and then people would ask for his footage, and so he just grew this Instagram account because people wanted the content from fight shows, and it was always like kind of low level, or like Muay Thai Grand Prix. It was never one champ or whatever. It was always in the UK. So he was just became this person who like helped little fighters along their journey by showing footage of them just for fun, and it like grew and grew, and he's amazing at social media. He's like could be a social media consultant, you could say. I've learned so much from him. He's a really wise person. But anyway, I'd heard of him. I'd been following him since I remember when he had about 200 followers, and I was like, this guy sounds cool. So I like followed him because I was a Muay Thai fanatic. And then fast forward 3.5 years, I was walking to Singdate training outdoors, which was only happening because of Corona. He's working off chance in Holland Park Station that day because he works for TFL. So he's sitting in Holland Park, sees the Notorious bag walking along because he's friends with Alex, the Notorious guy. He's like, who's that girl? So he texts Alex, who's that girl? She's ginger, she's wearing your bag. He's like, oh, that's definitely Nat. He messaged me on Instagram like, yo, I just saw you walking through Holland Park. I was like, how? I thought he meant the actual park. So I was like, are you here?
Yeah.
Never spoken to you before. It turns out he works at the station. So I was like, okay. So we ended up just chatting, and then he was like, we should have a proper chat. And I was like, I'll come back. Like, I'm coming back for training again. So I actually ended up, because he doesn't work at that station. It's a tiny station. He works at a different station. But I had to make sure I was there on the days he was working there, and he was only working there because of Corona. So it was a complete like universe put us together thing. So I pretended like I was going back there for training. I wasn't. I just went back there to see him, because I was just like, this feels right in my gut. Like I need to do this. So I went back and just like chilled with him for like 2 hours, probably around 2 hours, similar to what we're doing now, just chatting about Muay Thai for ages in Holland Park Station when it was still warm. And he gave me a leapfrog mask, and it was the cutest thing. I think he gave me a t-shirt. Yeah, he gave me the t-shirt and the mask, and I gave him a little frog. And because he said his shift was long, I got him a grenade bar, which is like my favorite. And he still has the frog at work. It's like the tiny little baby frog.
Oh, cool.
Like a toy, not a real one, obviously. So we became friends, and we just happened to start talking about art as part of our long rant about Muay Thai. And I was like, oh, I just love doing murals and stuff, and I'd love to combine the two, but I don't know how. And he was like, oh, there's a massive gap in the market for graphic designers, you know. And it was just like a passing comment. And I was like, oh, okay. Don't know what that really means, but never done digital art before. And then afterwards, he then like fed me all these ideas. Like it's like he was ruminating in his head, and he sent me all these ideas. Like this is what you could do. This is what you need. Like blah blah, posters, blah blah. And I was like, oh my god, cool. So mulled it over. We talked loads, and then I just ended up getting iPads. Because of him, essentially. So I bought myself an iPad. I did loads of research about which ones are best for art and digital art. Because there's actually been situations before that I've wanted to be able to do digital art. So there was some guy that I follow on Instagram that was asking for an artist to design things for his articles. And I was like, I can't do that by hand. So it wasn't the first time I'd wanted it. But I'd never spent so much on myself before. Like it was like $1.5 grand that I spent on that iPad and the pen altogether. But I wanted to get the proper one so I could really be professional about it. And since then, like, we designed the mask together, these t-shirts, which literally sold out like way quicker than I expected. It was madness. We've got none left now. And we've got like plans to do more of the t-shirts, and it's just to spread his brand, because his plans are much bigger than clothing. But the clothing aspect, like having me there as a designer for him, it like opens more doors than he had before.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So we just like work at this mad team together, and with their sold on Notorious's website, so we teamed up with Alex, and I've redone Alex's logos for him. So he's hired me as his designer now. So I've got loads of plans for all to revamp his kit as he asked for. And then the by hand stuff, that was just because around the same time I did a portrait for one of my training partners to like cheer her up of her adorable dogs. And she posted it on social media. Her friends saw it and asked me for one. And then I was like, this could work. So I just kind of escalated it and just started doing pet portraits. So
Amazing.
I've like earned a decent amount from them. You never know what's going to come in when, but
Yeah.
it's super great and I love it. And I've done a few people's logos. So I do logo design, pet portraits, digital by hand, did some Valentine's commissions of non-animal things, and a lot of clothing design for Alex and Amir. And I've got some murals lined up as well. So the cafe,
Amazing.
which is like my absolute favorite place, it sells plants and coffee. They're amazing. They're Bob Marley themed. She's commissioned me that I offered it, because sometimes you have to be brave and you have to offer your services because people won't know. But they're super receptive to it actually. So I said, I really want to paint your walls. And she was like, oh my God, you could paint my walls. So I'm going to do a flower mural for her. And then my friend who owns Tactalistic, this like gym down in Hornsey? No, Turnpike Lane. I'm doing all his walls if he ever gets around to styling them for me. So I've got a huge job with him, and I can do a mural for him. Started when I did a mural for the Alfie family of Alfie in various poses on their wall. It was like my leaving present.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So like little things that are snowballs, but I thank Amir for everything, because he is like my unofficial hype man. I would never believe, because I was always taught I can't make money from this.
Right.
And he was like, you can, you can.
Brilliant.
He's like, just don't let anyone tell you that you can't. You're super talented.
Absolutely.
Like, thanks. So he's amazing, and I hope he listens to this because I love him.
Okay. So look, just in closing, can you give us some advice? And I said this to Andy last time, and he went, "Oh, I forgot what? Like on what? I don't. It's up to you. What advice would you give people?
Like general advice?
It's up to you. Take it as you.
Okay, I'll take it from various levels. One,
what
if you want any artwork, contact me.
Yeah, obviously.
Anyone needs like logos or wants a present of some sort, like I will do any artwork, and I actually love art so much. Like I'm obsessed with it.
What's your Etsy?
So happy.
What's your Etsy?
I think it's like Nat Gibbons or no, involve art. Basically find me on Instagram, and then there's a link. There's a link tree, and it has my Etsy.
What's your art Instagram?
Envolve. So I wish I could turn around and show you it, but it's ENVOLV .art. It's like evolve, but without evolve, but with an N, because my name is
within. So involve. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'll
so
get that.
instead of involve, instead of evolve, it's added an N. So that was the reason.
Yeah, I like that. No, that's decent. Yeah.
So it's ENVOLV.art. So find it on Instagram, and then the links are in there. But really, it's like by commission at the moment.
I'll link it in the information anyway.
Thank you. Yes, it's just really people just ask me for what they want, and then I sort it out. So I've not got many paintings that I actually sell yet. I'm making tapestries, like I'm working on it, but Corona's really dampened everything. I can't really
stuff,
I can't get things in at the moment. I'm still able to print onto canvas. Like I'm picking up a canvas today for a Valentine's present that I'm then delivering to a guy for his girlfriend. But I haven't been able to make the tapestries I want to, so I can convert my paintings to tapestry images and then put them on tapestry with this other company. So that's what will be on my Etsy, that sort of stuff. But it's just finding the time to fit that in around all the graphics commissions and stuff is quite difficult. So mainly just message me on Instagram at the moment.
So the advice then, what advice would you give people?
Use artwork to express love, because it really works.
Use artwork to express love.
Yeah, if you want to show someone you love them, make them art or give them art. I've like, just from personal experience, it works really well. Like people really appreciate personal things like that, and art is a way of expression. And even if you think you can't do art, you probably can. Just need to get into the right headspace, and it's very therapeutic. More for like non-art related advice, like don't believe that you ever can't do something. Don't let someone tell you can't do something, because you can, and the only limits that we have are set within our own minds. Don't be afraid to get therapy. Get therapy if you think that, like, if you think you need help, that's get it, because there's no shame to it. Don't be ashamed to need help.
No, that's really good.
And go with your gut, because I've learned to trust my gut a lot more in the last few years. Yeah, don't know, there's so much, but yeah, trust people that have had therapy more than people that haven't. I think also
Cool.
they're much better people.
It's amazing. I'm so grateful for you
I'm grateful
in
for
general,
you.
but
Yeah, same.
I'm
Thank you.
grateful for you sharing, these hours to talk to me and to share things that you've experienced along the way. And some of them are, are tough.
Yeah.
And are really grateful for your transparency and your honesty. And did you hear that? Was that you?
What?
Did you hear that
That's
little
been doing
bleep?
it. Oh no, that's been doing it the whole time. It's like I'm on my work laptop, so they're all chatting about work things. I'm just ignoring it.
it's just bleep. That's the
I'm really
first time I've
sorry.
heard it. I
Oh
didn't care.
good. I'm glad it
I
hasn't
was
been
just
like
like,
annoying you.
it just tripped me out a bit. I was like, oh my god, what's going on? So yeah, so thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And yeah, anyone that wants to get in touch with Nat, Codename Mel, I'll be putting the information in the details, in the information for the video, whether it's on YouTube or wherever it is. So
awesome.
Thanks again. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Still can't believe you actually want to interview me.
it's been amazing. It's been brilliant. Yeah, and let's talk soon. Let's keep talking.
Cool.